competition, the sense of community that was formed by talking and competing with fellow fighting game fans, and the hype moments that organically emerged from watching the best in the world do what they do best, all made for an experience that I knew I had to revisit every year from that point on.
It's Goichi, your Dragon Ball FighterZ 2019 EVO champion!
This year though, I wanted to document that experience and share it, to show the work that goes into trying to be competitive at a fighting game, even for someone who doesn't consider themselves to be a quote-unquote pro, to put a lens on what happens beyond the main stage at EVO, and ultimately, show people the love of fighting games. Also, selfishly, I want a way to motivate myself to try and break through my own barrier of going 3-2 in Guilty Gear Strive. And so, hello, my name is Mitchell Saltzman, and this is my Road to EVO Video Diary, Episode 1. So, first things first, I gotta get back up to speed in Guilty Gear Strive. For the last few months, my brain has been all about Street Fighter 6, with everything relating to the review, to trying to grind up the ranks, and to just playing a new and exciting fighting game with my group of friends. The thing is, because I did the review for Street Fighter 6 and received an early copy of the game, I am officially, by Capcom, disqualified from participating in EVO for Street Fighter 6, so it's Guilty Gear Strive or bust for me. All that said, I had a ton of rust to shake off. And after grinding ranked matchmaking for a day and getting knocked down to floor 9 a handful of times, it was clear that I had lost something in my time away from the game. And if I truly wanted to compete at the highest level and not get blown up, I needed to find out where those holes were. So I decided to do something that I've never done before. Get a coach. Enter Diaphone, one of my favorite fighting game content creators and a person that I credit massively with not just improving my own skill through his videos, but also my mentality. He was gracious enough to give me an hour of his time to review a handful of my matches, identify some weaknesses, and give me some pointers on how to correct them. And so, let's move on to the crux of this video. Here are 5 things I learned from a pro fighting game player.
So I'd like to focus on some defensive situations once we go through all of this, because I think there's a few options you're not really using on defense.
One of the first things that Diaphone noticed was that I wasn't making use of some of my best defensive options. Faultless defense, for example, is a defensive technique that creates a barrier that negates chip damage and pushes your opponent back slightly when they hit it, at the cost of some of your tension meter. Because I wasn't really using it at the right times or against the right moves, players were able to run pressure game plans that are just incredibly hard to stop. He also recommended that I incorporate more backdashes on defense.
You don't want to do all the time, but it is good to do on occasion, right? Because sometimes a lot of people get lazy and they don't option select their safe jumps, or they mistime things, especially in a tournament setting, because let's be real, we flew out to Vegas, we might have jet lag, we might have lack of sleep, we might have all these other factors, we might be nervous, right? So in those kind of situations, backdash becomes better. What can I say?
Backdashes have about 5 or 6 frames of invulnerability on their startup, and so they can very often completely avoid certain melee attacks that are either poorly timed or don't have very many active frames, as well as throws. They still get blown up by attacks with lengthy active frames, but if you have the right read, their reward is immense. Number 2, bursts earlier. In several of my matches against this chip, he successfully does what's called a burst bait on me, which is a combo designed to make me use my limited use get out of jail free card called a burst. Only they're prepared to block it if the burst happens. It feels bad when you get burst baited. You waste your burst, you're in a position to get punished hard, and worst of all, you lose your entire burst gauge, making it so that you almost certainly won't get your burst back next round. Diaphone's recommendation was to use burst earlier as a general note, and to make sure that I'm using my burst against moves where the burst is guaranteed.
If you bursted properly that match, you have had burst here, which means that you could have bursted like right here if you wanted. Means you could have bursted like whatever the follow-up was before you got wall broken. Like you could have bursted before you got the 50.
By using the burst earlier, I get it back sooner, take less damage from the combo, and reduce the likelihood of getting burst baited. The exception to this is in the final round of the match, since there's no getting your burst back after that.
How many Geo drill kicks, 236K, were done in those 5 matches?
I don't think that many. Did I do a lot?
0.
0? Yeah, okay.
0.
Yeah, I felt like I didn't do very many. This was a very character-specific note, but Diaphone noticed that I wasn't using Giovanna's Travao special move, which most people just call drill because of its visual similarity to Cammy's cannon drill in Street Fighter. It's a move that I've always viewed as very risky, because of its long startup and its vulnerability to every character's universal anti-air attack, 6P. But it's an incredibly useful move for my character Giovanna, as it gets her in the range she wants to be in, crushes through projectiles, and crucially, leaves her at a +4 frame advantage on block, allowing me to take my turn back and threaten with either a block string or a dash-up throw.
There's a good rule of thumb. Justin Wong always had this rule, and I've always stuck by it myself, which is always assume your opponent's an idiot until they prove otherwise, right? And I think with Geo, that means doing 236k in pressure and in neutral and seeing if they can deal with it, right? And unless you actually do it, then you won't know for sure if they can actually deal with it.
Number 4, option selects on safe jumps. Okay, so we're getting into some deeper fighting game terminology here, so I'm gonna do my best to explain it. A key part of Giovanna's game plan is utilizing what's known as safe jumps to continue her pressure after a knockdown. Basically, it's a move that's specifically timed so that if an opponent just blocks when they get up, I will hit their block as normal and can continue my pressure. But if the opponent tries to use an invincible reversal, like an overdrive or a Dragon Punch style move, I will hit the ground in time to block it. What I always thought was a weakness of this technique was that people could backdash on wake up to avoid blocking the safe jump and then punish me before I was able to do anything about it. But Diaphone taught me an option select that would cover backdashes, making it so that I didn't have to do weird and risky reads, like safe jumping in and then backdashing out.
But basically what I'm doing, I'm pressing JH and then I'm pressing S. So it looks like this. You see how this comes out if I whiff a normal? But if you just block, nothing happens, right? Like the S doesn't come out.
Okay, there we go.
That you did it, but it is 2S, but that still works, right?
One final thing that Diaphone was able to pick up from watching my replays is that my opponents were pretty disrespectful on defense. They would mash out of my block strings or find spots to either backdash or jump to escape. To that end, he brought up the concept of layering my offense, which in fighting game terms basically means that you start off with the option that has the highest success rate of beating common defensive options, and if your opponent shows that they can respond correctly to that layer, then you move on to layer 2, then layer 3, etc.
So in my opinion, layer 1 should always be something that beats the majority of nutty shit opponents want to do, right? So something like a 5S and the 2S will beat all the jumping and the mashing throw that the Mei player was doing, as opposed to going for a backdash, a dash forward, dash back, or jump in, backdash, that sort of thing, which is designed to beat specific options, but it loses to most options, if that makes sense.
And those were the 5 things I took away from my session with Diaphone. Needless to say, I was eager to put the lessons to the test, and sure enough, despite having struggled to remain in floor 10 the night before, as soon as I started playing, I went on a tear, winning 7 games in a row, bringing me back up to the Celestial Challenge, which I proceeded to lose against Chip. So, there's still work to do on that front. But not too long after, I managed to work my way back up to the challenge, and this time, finally got back to Celestial. Of course, I had to ask Diaphone to give me his honest thoughts on my chances of accomplishing my goal of getting out of pools at EVO.
Oh, easily, yeah. I think depends how much you practice, right? It depends on a good amount of bracket luck. Let's be real. You could you could play you could get 2 DQs and then you could play against 2 people that just play this game casually, and then you already beat people, right? So I'm not gonna lie, some of it's gonna come down to luck. I think if you play your cards right, you practice, and you get everything well defined, I think you can make it out of your pool at EVO.
My next step, as Diaphone suggested, is to enter an online tournament to get some tourney level experience under my belt, and that's what I'll be covering next week in this Road to EVO diary. Till then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Welcome back to IGN Live at Gamescom. Earlier this week, Jeff Keighley's Opening Night Live officially kicked off Gamescom with some big new game reveals. One of the most interesting games was Where Winds Meet, a bold new third-person action game with some awesome twists on the genre. Joining me now are Brian Altano, and all the way from IGN Israel, being updated in real time on the prompter, Danny Lee. Welcome to the IGN stage here.
Hi everyone, I'm very excited to be here actually on Gamescom and with you guys.
Yes.
And talk about this amazing game that we saw yesterday.
What a cool surprise, right?
This looks really cool. I think a lot of people are are describing this as Ghost of Tsushima in medieval China, which works for me.
It's like Opening Night Live had, there's games based on Killer Clowns from Outer Space and Dune, and we saw Sonic, but like it was
Too
so
many
cool
space games, by the
there
way.
was a lot of,
A lot of space
This
games.
is a brand new IP, and I think that was such a treat. And I think the more this trailer kind of unfolded, the bigger and more grander this game just looks. It just seems like a massive undertaking, and it's just incredibly ambitious. I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it at all, and the opening got me so excited. Look at the lyrics. It's very emotional, and you see the opening with the environment. I can't wait to see what it's going to bring, and you see the protagonist over there going wild. So I can't wait to see the whole gameplay and how it's going to work. I'm intrigued, and look at it. The graphic looks great, and it still needs to work. There's a lot of work to be done still, but I believe it's going to be very interesting to see the outcome. Look at her. It's magical.
Yeah, like it opened up with a lot of cinematic stuff, which is really cool, and then eventually it got into gameplay, which feels like that trend is kind of going away these days, because we got a lot of cinematic trailers, but not a ton of gameplay with a lot of stuff. But this one jumped right into it. Now, Damon, this is like a studio that we don't really know a ton about, right?
Exactly.
Everstone?
Yeah, I actually did some research. Couldn't find anything about them. I don't think they have a website yet. So that's the one thing. Like this formula, I love Ghost of Tsushima. I love open world action RPGs. So tell me you're taking that formula, putting it in medieval China. That sounds great to me. The only question mark for me is sort of an unproven developer.
Yeah. I really like what's going on with sort of the interactivity. You'll start to see a little bit more gameplay open up here, where there's some really interesting sort of magical mechanics, which we didn't really get into in stuff like Ghost of Tsushima.
I think there's going to be a little bit more fantasy in this than there was in Ghost.
It felt, though, there's a few moments that I saw that they have kind of a Tencent's moves like in Ghost of Tsushima, and the move of the camera is the same, very cinematic, old school vibe, and I love to see the environment more changing. I like to see it.
It reminds me of Gambit from X-Men, where he can kind of weaponize things magically in his environment. And so we have this character just kind of looked over, saw a sword on the table, and was like, I'll take that,
I have a huge crush on Gambit, so if you're saying it,
Really?
I'm taking it all over.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Get in line.
Yeah, this stuff is awesome. This reminds me of some of the verticality we saw in Sekiro, just jumping up on a roof, running around, but freezing enemies in place. You'll see this in a second. All these people jump up, and this character just goes bing,
Bing.
and boom. They're just stuck. And I don't know
If
how
you're going
long,
to stay that
how
way.
long do you have to stay? And then you jump right onto the cart, which is just awesome. So there'll be some vehicular stuff, horseback riding, of course.
Yeah.
Can't have an open world game like that without this. But yeah, what was happening
What was there?
And okay, so I have some questions.
Fish.
So
And that bear.
this specifically, the character is a nuisance to animals in the environment. So there we saw a bear yells at you, and you bottle it and throw it back at him, and you're like, get out of here, bear. And then I guess you piss off that goose, and he can hang out with you. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff here that is very different than kind of similarly adjacent games that we've seen in this genre. But just look at the texture work, look at the lighting. It's just so moody.
We actually have an interview with the developers on IGN.com.
Oh,
you should
awesome.
definitely check out. There's apparently a very robust job system in the game where you can actually take on many different professions. One of them, for example,
Such as?
Animal botherer.
you can get poisoned by an animal out in the wild, but if you happen to be a doctor, then you have the skills you need to heal yourself.
Oh, so it gives
really
you some
cool.
skills to use.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So they're the characters not only running on water, but
so
also
here's the more fantastical element.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that moment. When they're blowing off the barrels. This is insane.
This seems again crazy ambitious for a developer that we've never heard a lot about before. But this feels this feels AAA to me, right? This is a big huge game with a ton of interactivity, a ton of play choice and decisions, and I like how they're weaving in the cinematics and stuff like that too. It's just a very beautiful game.
But Brian, this is going to be some information that might be a tough pill to swallow for some. It's going to be plenty welcome news for others, but for you and I, this is currently only announced for PC.
What?
I know.
Just
come on.
for now.
For now.
For now.
Hey, Everstone, do me a solid. Drag and drop this game onto consoles. I know it's super easy to do
Fast.
that. Just
That's how it
Control
works,
C,
right?
Control V on the
Save
PS5.
Yeah,
Save
I like
as
to play my
.ps5.
games when I'm kicking my enemy's ass. I just like to do it when I'm chilling out on my couch with my
Yeah.
controller like that,
Yes.
man.
Well, because I have a Steam Deck and I can already hear that thing bursting into flames trying to run this game. So, this
No,
feels.
but this game deserves to play on huge TV.
Yes.
kind of
Yeah.
OLED TV,
Yeah,
you know, with
That
everything.
it feels like
it's
properly
incredible.
next gen, right?
Definitely
I think
next
we're
gen.
finally at that point where we're letting go of the previous systems and we can get some big games like this. So
Indeed.
Let it go.
Let it go.
Let it go. Oh, that's a good
had
idea
it-
for a song.
Yeah.
We should do that. The game is called Where Winds Meet. It's just one of the new and exciting games that's been announced here at Gamescom this week. Opening Night Live was packed with big gaming news. So is IGN's Gamescom coverage, which we're going to keep going right here. In fact, here comes some right now.
whoa!
想象，我操！ 1994, the Tekken franchise has given the fighting game community some of the most memorable characters and iconic moments in the history of the genre. And nearly 30 years later, it's back with a brand new entry, Tekken 8. Here to break it all down for us is Katsuhiro Harada and Michael Murray. Hey, what's up? So I'm going to jump right in, and I feel like the last time that we talked, it was at San Diego Comic-Con, so not that long ago, but we did have a very interesting closed network test come up. So I do want to ask, what did you learn from the closed network tests?
Obviously, going into the closed network test, first it's closed, right? So the number of people who could participate was limited. We were foreseeing some problems that we wanted to actually test out in this environment. And we did encounter those problems. But on the flip side, we were kind of surprised that the feedback was better than we expected regarding the player's experience on online connection, that they actually felt that the game felt pretty good over, pretty substantial distances, I guess you could say. But the one thing that did stand out was the Wi-Fi connection. There was a great disparity between the LAN cable players and also the people on Wi-Fi. So we're hoping that we can maybe fine-tune the experience a little bit more for Wi-Fi players.
Awesome. So I have to ask, because you announced that there are 32 characters in game. So what was that like, bringing 32 individual characters to life in Tekken 8?
It was a huge task in itself, bringing 32 characters to the game. If you look at other fighting games on the market, the number tends to be around 15 to 20 some. So 32 is quite a large number. And also, it's not just about being a fighting game and being able to play your character against opponents. Tekken also kind of has that element of being a character game, where not just about the core fighting mechanics, but people want to see their character and see how they're portrayed in the story and how that plays out in the newest installment. So doing that for this game was quite a big hurdle. And also, we wanted to have more, but because of the dev cost restraints, but also it takes quite a long time to create all these games. So all these kind of dictated the number at the end. That said, though, we do hope to have more post-launch, but this is the starting roster. And I myself would add that another element that made it quite difficult was they were all created from the ground up this time for Tekken 8. So that's totally new. All the character models were redone, which was quite exciting because we were dealing with artists. Everyone's been making, for example, Jin Kazama for 20-some years now. But when you make the model from zero base, it's like little things are off, and you have to kind of fine-tune to make sure they look exactly like the character that everyone remembers. So there was quite a bit that went into the characters themselves.
I never even thought about that, but that's actually really great insight. So, okay, so you talk about this being more than just a fighting game. So I know that there is more character personalization in Tekken 8. So are you telling me that I could put bunny ears on like all the characters?
Yeah, so if you can imagine, Tekken 7 itself had a lot of customization options. So we've even increased it from there, the categories, etc., that you can equip. So in general, yes, you could most likely equip bunny ears to most of the characters, though there are some limitations in certain cases. For example, maybe a character has horns or something that might conflict with it. So we wouldn't say 100% on everyone, but in general, yes, that's the case. In addition to not just the look of your character, but the look of various elements of your game, the life gauges and the player panels, etc. There's a lot that you can do there. But not just that, the music itself can be customized. So we have a jukebox feature, which the fans really loved for the PS version of Tekken 7, but it's back again for Tekken 8, so you can select different pieces of music for various areas of the game.
I love that Tekken 8 seems to be really just showing so much love for the players. So in addition to that, we see that Arcade Quest is a new mode that's coming in. So can you share us some more details on what exactly this new mode is?
So yes, the Arcade Quest is a brand new feature for Tekken 8. We just want to be totally clear that this doesn't replace the story mode that people are used to, which portrays the actual in-game characters and the story arcs and the machinemas, etc. This is totally separate from that. This is more about the player's story, and it's made to kind of recreate the arcade feel that Harada and myself experienced when we were, students, and many other people our age. I had a great time there. And we feel that kind of was the roots of what grew into what we see now as esports, right? It started off as that kind of competitive culture in arcade. So people from our generation will instantly recognize that and feel nostalgic. But for younger people, maybe they didn't have the chance because arcades weren't as common as they are back then. So maybe it's the first time they're seeing a kind of a virtual arcade, and they can kind of see, oh, this is where my parents were hanging out and enjoying themselves, and also to understand a little bit more about that competitive culture. So you can tell that from between the story mode and also this new arcade quest mode, there's a great deal of volume there for one-player content. So, this new arcade quest mode, it lets you go through the mode, and as a player, you're kind of evolving, learning the basics of not only the new features of Tekken 8, but also Tekken in general, the gameplay, and kind of helps you learn the ropes. But not just that, there's a cool new feature also that's been implemented with ghost characters. So it's kind of this AI learning. Not only does it kind of tailor your opponents, so you'll see CPU opponents actually fight like real players. Maybe even like a copy of some famous player you've seen in an esports stream, etc. But not just that, as you evolve as a player and get better, this AI ghost of yourself, it mimics you. So if you drop a combo, it'll mimic that. It'll mimic all kinds of different aspects of your play. So you can see the AI ghost version of yourself get even more skillful as you as a player grow.
Okay. So that's good to know because my AI is definitely just going to be spamming one move constantly. So if you find that one, that is me, and I'm not even sorry about it. So actually, speaking of fighting styles, so could you go into more details about how guard damage will affect the overall strategy in Tekken 8? How does this change the dynamics of a fight?
Fighting games are unique in one aspect, especially that if you're able to block your opponent's attacks, then you negate all the damage, right? Usually. So this is unique in that, for example, first-person shooters or others, if you line up your attack, usually the damage happens. So this time the key concept for Tekken 8 is aggressiveness, right? So in order to kind of enhance this experience, one of the new mechanics is certain attacks will deal kind of recoverable damage to your opponent. So this kind of alleviates the instance where you see two people going back and forth and they're unable to kind of break out of that match, right? So this is supposed to kind of foster players to make them want to go on the offense and to rush down their opponent. So this is what we call the chip damage when you deal the damage while they're blocking, right? And also this can be recovered by doing various different actions. So there is a way to alleviate that, but it is designed to make the game more aggressive.
So speaking of unique elements within fighting games, what inspired the development team to create the brand new Heat system and revised Rage system? And how did you ensure it would resonate with longtime fans?
With fighting games, it's quite interesting that to us, each installment of Tekken is quite different with the different changes we've made to the battle systems. And we feel that players feel the same way who are actually following the games closely. But for people who aren't into fighting games, a lot of times just because the perspective of the screen from a sideways view looks the same, they'll be like, oh, fighting games haven't changed in how many years. That's not the case, we think. Especially this time with the Heat system, it's designed for aggressive gameplay like we were saying, and it does many things. One of the main things is the inspiration was if you're watching some kind of martial arts match and you see maybe there's back and forth and there's no big moments, but then all of a sudden a certain punch will land and then the outcome of the match changes drastically, right? So that was kind of the thing that we were going after for the Heat system this time around, to create those kind of iconic moments within a match, not just for the people playing, but for the people who are spectating. And granted, the overall feedback we've gotten from both the CAT and then the closed test we did recently, it seems like overall the players really liked that new change and it felt new. We did get a lot of useful feedback, so we will be fine-tuning the game and changing it a bit after that, though. And just personally, I'd like to add one thing that, like Corrado's mentioning, is the main core concept of it, but another cool thing I think about the Heat system is that each character is kind of unique in their moves and their play styles and strategies, but then when the Heat system kicks in for each character, it goes even more. They get access to new techniques during the Heat state, or certain parameters like King, when he throws his opponents, they'll actually recover the Heat gauge. So there's a lot of things that make the characters even more unique when they're in the Heat state. So I think that's a really cool addition this time.
That's so cool. I can't believe you wanted to add more characters on top of all of that. That's actually crazy. I mean, this is going to be great. And players don't have to wait too long, right? When actually does this game drop?
It's coming January 26th, 2024.
Awesome. You heard it here. Thank you so much for speaking with us today. The Tekken 8 hits PC, PS5, and Xbox next year, and we'll be covering every hard-hitting moment right here on IGN as we count down for the days for it.
You could chalk up Mortal Kombat's massive success as a fighting game franchise to a number of factors: its 30-year legacy, its attention-grabbing and unparalleled violence,
You shame your ancestors.
its beloved roster of characters, its deep fighting mechanics, the list just goes on and on. But I'd argue that one of the most important elements of Mortal Kombat's success, especially since Mortal Kombat 9, has been its single-player offerings, which is one thing that we haven't really seen out of the upcoming Mortal Kombat 1. Until now, that is. At a recent event, I got to go hands-on with the first chapter of Mortal Kombat 1 Cinematic Story Mode, as well as its brand new Invasion Mode. My early impressions are that NetherRealm doesn't seem to be loosening its grip on the crown as the king of fighting game single-player modes just yet.
That is amazing.
Mortal Kombat 1's premise of it being a complete timeline reset with Liu Kang being the architect of its creation leads to an unusual start to an MK story. There's initially no conflict. After a very cool and intriguing encounter between two returning faces that I don't want to spoil for you here, the first chapter follows Kung Lao, who is now a farmer that works the field with his friend, Raiden, who is notably not a thunder god and now wears an appropriate hat for his profession. After a friendly competition in the field, the two head inside a tea house where they're greeted by Smoke of the Lin Kuei. Turns out the owner of the tea house owes the Lin Kuei some money, and Smoke is there to collect. What follows is what you'd expect to have a Mortal Kombat story mode, a series of battles that tell the story of this particular conflict, with Sub-Zero and Scorpion all jumping into the mix to fight against Kung Lao and Raiden as well. What's notable here is that Kung Lao doesn't yet have his bladed hat, and thus does not have full access to his usual moveset. Likewise, Raiden has not awakened his lightning powers either, so his cameo only has one move that you're able to call upon as an assist. Beyond that though, NetherRealm definitely seems to be continuing with its "if it ain't broke, don't fix it" philosophy for the main story mode, which is hard to blame them for, even though I do wish that these chapters could get some optional character-specific tutorials, so I wouldn't have to go into each of them completely in the dark when it comes to what the character can actually do. In what is a surprising turn for the series, Mortal Kombat 1 is doing away with the Crypt mode that has been a staple in the series ever since 2002's Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. In its place is a new single-player mode called Invasions that combines the rewards of the Crypt with the wacky-themed battles of MK11's Towers of Time, and presents it all like a Mortal Kombat-themed board game. While there are no dice rolls to determine how many spaces you move, every space on the board houses some kind of themed event. The first board is themed around Johnny Cage's mansion, Casa del Cage. So when you stop on the first space, you'll need to fight against a Baraka that's apparently stolen the key to the front door. After that, you're able to enter the mansion and are guided through its rooms and halls, with more Easter eggs than you can shake a stick at. It's got everything from the famous Sega Genesis Blood Code,
It's ABACABB.
to the theater marquee from Injustice 2, and plenty more that any longtime NetherRealm fan is sure to catch on to and giggle at. Many of the fights have gimmicks to them, which should be familiar to anyone who's played through any of Mortal Kombat 11's Towers of Time. In one, portals open up and have freezing ice balls teleport in and slowly home in on me. In another, purple zones appear and increase gravity, making it impossible to jump in or use juggle combos. Sometimes they're not fights at all. One encounter was a survival challenge that demanded I avoid a series of energy balls by leaping over and ducking under them. There are a couple of other factors at play as well that serve to deepen the mechanics. There's an elemental damage system at play, where if you use a character that has the element of fire, they'll deal more damage to an enemy aligned with the ice element, for example. Those aforementioned energy balls in the survival challenge will do less damage to you if you're an energy type character. And you can also equip special talismans to give your character a unique special move and potentially give them attacks outside their own element. What I really liked about the Invasion mode is that there's a sense of progression that you never really got with the Towers mode of previous games. You're leveling up your characters and adding stats to better handle increasingly difficult missions, you're constantly unlocking new items for both within the mode and outside of it after every encounter you clear, and there's a great sense of completion when you finally get to the end of a board and are able to move on to the next one. Similar to Crypt, you'll also occasionally find portals that each contain some sort of unlockable cosmetic. These boards are also refreshed seasonally, with a new story being added every season. The story for the first season focuses on the tragedy of Scorpion and how a version of Hanzo Hasashi has been going through timeline after timeline trying to find one where his wife, Harumi, had avoided being killed, only to find that only one such timeline existed, the timeline of MK1, where Harumi is alive and well, but also happily in the arms of Kuai Liang. And so this season's boards will all center around Scorpion's rage and his vow to burn this timeline down. It's a pretty cool setup for a what-if style story, and it's definitely enough motivation for me to see things through to the end once Mortal Kombat 1 comes out on September 19th for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Thanks for watching, and for more Mortal Kombat 1, check out our videos for every fatality we've seen so far. And for everything else, give it a ear on IGN.
Fatality. Kung Lao wins. You'll lose. You always do. Your own damned arrogance will bring your downfall.
The world has ended, but we lived on. The tower is our home. The only one we've ever known. The ones who built it wanted to control our fate, to shape us like we were their playthings. They wanted to manipulate our minds and our bodies, be our gods. But they overreached. It took strength, determination, and sacrifice. But we prevailed. The ghosts of the old world are gone. We're on our own. It won't be easy, but for the first time in a long time, we can make our own future. Little by little, step by step, we'll find our way. And we all have one man to thank for it. The man who faced his own creators and proved them wrong.
If you destroy me, the remaining Cybervoid system will shut down. You won't survive without them. You won't survive without me. No. No! I will not be deleted by a mere tool! I forbid you, Ghost Runner!
My name is Jack.
Oh, look at that. One of the cops was actually bothered to show up. No need, SWAT's got it covered.
What is the situation?
Vultures came up with the great idea of robbing the OCP bank. They've got hostages, and they claim there's a bomb. They must be crazy to think that OCP will just let them leave with their money.
Was there any sighting of Spike?
Not yet. But I'm sure they wouldn't pull such a stunt without their leader.
What is the plan?
Let me make this clear. It's SWAT's plan. You're no part of it.
Then you are going to need a new plan.
With this buggy brain of yours, you think you still remember how to put the heat on them scumbags?
I prefer to serve justice cold.
Contact! Contact! Let's show our metal friend how it's done, boys.
Put down your weapon!
Find a way to get past it. Try finding the weakest spot in the wall around the gate and breach through.
Come on, boys. I'm on it. Let's finish up here and show them what it means to be a team player. Don't act like you're all that impressive. With all that fancy tech, a brick would know how to shoot.
Robocop, I've received information that the bank manager is held hostage in the vault.
Where exactly is it?
Find the manager's office, and we'll go from there. It's at the far end of the office area.
Your presence here is unauthorized.
So is depriving thousands of people of a roof over their heads. But OCP doesn't seem to mind that.
Explain.
Delta City. A heaven on earth that OCP plans to build in place of old Detroit? A city of the future where there is no crime or poverty. Do you believe the commercials?
I am working on the no crime part.
Then OCP may become the object of your attention soon. In order to create Delta City, OCP must first get rid of people who live in old Detroit. Now that's a topic I'd rather do a story on than you glitching. OCP offered these people investment in the project. The value of their property would cover the cost of entering the business. The later gains will far outweigh the cost, supposedly.
You do not believe that?
It's OCP. There must be a catch, and I think I found it. The documents say something about additional costs. I believe that's a loophole that OCP placed in order to scam people out of their homes.
That is only suspicion.
And I need time to prove that my suspicion is true. Time and some of these documents I found. If you detain me, the SWAT jerks will requisition them.
You can go, but if you continue to disobey the law, you will be detained.
Maybe I should have treated you more like a police officer than OCP's property. Anyway, the city owes you. And I owe you too.
I can see you've reached the manager's office. Great. Now look for a switch that unlocks the doors that lead to the vault. If I was a bank manager, I would probably ask for that switch to be installed somewhere around my desk. Now, take the doors behind the desk and turn left. The way to the vault should be open now.
I will not contribute to depriving my grateful employer of his hard-earned savings. We're opening this vault with or without your help, you old nut job.
RoboCop! I knew our founder would send his best.
We're not done yet.
Mr. Becker, you're still alive.
I only played dead, so I didn't end up like you, with a bomb strapped to my body.
RoboCop, you have to defuse it. The explosion could cause the company enormous losses.
I need the support of a combat engineer.
I saw that Orpheus kid playing puzzle games on his breaks. Ask him for help. I'll be watching you. From a safe distance.
Officer Washington, I am looking at a ticking bomb.
A bomb? Okay, I'm passing you through to the bomb squad.
There is no time. I will need your help to defuse it.
Gosh, I mean, I'll do my best, but just give me a moment. First aid, kidnapping...
Are you looking for a bomb defusing chapter in the police manual?
Found it! First rule, call qualified personnel. Oh no. Okay, tell me what you see.
Four connectors with different voltage.
What's the highest voltage?
24 volts. It is a C4 explosive and seems to be homemade.
Yeah, that's what I'd expect from the street vultures.
4 cables, green, 2 reds, and blue.
4 cables?
Cables
Appear to be electronic.
primitive.
Okay, so they used this kind of bomb before. According to the diagram, you should detach 3 cables. Start from the one with the highest voltage, then proceed down one at a time to the one with the lowest voltage.
There are 2 different color 12-volt cables. Which one do I detach first?
Okay, maybe this isn't the time, but I'm colorblind.
I will have to improvise.
Just remember, detach the one with the highest voltage first, then proceed down to the lowest voltage.
It was just a minor incident. Ready to get back to business? 'Cause I need to make a withdrawal. Like, now.
Well, I should really check upstairs.
Nonsense. This is OCP. Money comes first. Now, open the vault.
There you go, sir.
Great. Now out of my way. is this? Where is all the money?
Our founder has most of our capital tied up in a very ambitious and resource-heavy project.
I can't believe old man's blowing all of OCP's money on Delta City.
Have some respect, young man.
Things are closing in. Are you already in the tunnels? If you're not back with the money in the next 2 minutes, we're leaving.
You should be proud to work for such a great man.
At this rate, soon there might be no one left to work for him. See what I'm talking about?
I have followed them into a tunnel.
So that's how they must have gotten here in the first place. It seems they're retreating into the old industrial area. That must be where they've hidden their getaway vehicle. You gotta hurry. There's a deserted warehouse nearby. It's the only building which the area, and it's big enough to store their vehicle. It's your best bet to proceed there.
Roger that.
How many lies would you tell? How many enemies would you face? How many battles would you endure? How many victories? How many failures? How many broken hearts? How many atrocities? How many lies would you tell? To be human.
It's the biggest video game convention in the universe, and IGN will be there live from Cologne, Germany.
Welcome back to IGN Live at Gamescom.
Expect some of the biggest game reveals and announcements of the year.
Tons of world premieres.
Never before seen looks at the most anticipated games like Starfield and Lies of P, as well as exclusive gameplay deep dives.
This seems crazy ambitious.
And tons more.
And we're going to be here all week on the show floor.
So cool.
IGN Live at Gamescom kicks off August 22nd. Don't miss a second of it. Day 2 of Gamescom Studio is here. It's the biggest gaming event in the world, and Gamescom Studio gives you a front row seat for all the biggest and best the show has to offer. Coming up today, brand new gameplay and deep dives into the hottest upcoming games. We'll be getting hands-on with Mortal Kombat 1 and Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty. We'll be getting hands-on with RoboCop Rogue City. And Xbox head Phil Spencer.
What's up, everybody? This is IGN Live at Gamescom.
And you can expect plenty more sights and sounds from the show floor as the doors open to the public. So sit back, relax, and prepare yourself because Day 2 of Gamescom Studio live on IGN kicks off right now.
Hello and welcome back to Day 2 of Gamescom Studio powered by IGN. I'm Stella Chung along with my good pals Max Scoville and Damon Hatfield.
Hey, how's it going?
Hello.
All day right here on Gamescom Studio, we've got tons of brand new games, exclusive reveals, interviews with the people making the coolest games on Earth, and tons of kick-ass gameplay.
If you want to stay up to date with everything going on at Gamescom, whether you're here in person or watching from home, you can find up-to-the-minute info by heading to now.gamescom.global.
You can also stay up to date by following the official Gamescom social media accounts on your platform of choice. So Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, Twitch, YouTube. Gamescom is literally everywhere.
Yep. We've got some great coverage lined up for today. First up, we got RoboCop Rogue City, which I got to check out. It's a first-person shooter based on the timeless tale of a cop who's also a robot. You probably could have figured that out. Then there's Mortal Kombat 1, which is a reboot of the timeless fighting game in which multicolored ninjas brutally murder each other in hilariously elaborate ways.
And later on, we'll be taking a look at Cyberpunk 2077's upcoming expansion, Phantom Liberty, which not only tells a brand new story, but also brings a ton of improvements to the original base game.
Yeah, I'll be doing that interview. And we even convinced Phil Spencer to come back and let us ask him more hard-hitting and, honestly, probably annoying questions about what it's like being in charge of Xbox.
There are a ton of massive AAA blockbuster games at Gamescom, but there are also even more independent ones at the Gamescom Indie Arena booth. Over 150 devs and studios from 30 different countries show off tons of incredible games.
That's just a portion of this massive event, and luckily we've got teams running around non-stop checking out the show floor. Let's see what's going on out there.
Hey everybody, Seth Macy at Gamescom, IGN.com. I am here with Matt Perslow. Matt, where are we?
We are in Hall 6.
Hall 6. Where are you going?
I am going to see where winds meet.
And what do you plan to do there?
I plan to play this game and figure out what the hell it is.
Yeah, I have no idea.
We saw it at Gamescom last year and we've not seen any of it since. I am excited to see. It's a game with swords. I like swords.
Okay, are you expecting some surprises?
I am expecting to be surprised. It looked a bit Ghost of Tsushima when we saw it last year. I want to know if that's what it is or if it's some weird surprise that we weren't expecting.
Awesome. Well, let me know how it is when you get out. We'll be grabbing you off the floor and telling you about it. For everything else on Gamescom all this week, keep it right here on IGN.
There's plenty of stuff to check out. Max, yesterday you had a chance to play RoboCop, right?
No, they didn't let me play it, but I did get to talk to somebody who did.
I'd buy that for $1.
Dead or alive, you're coming with me. Can you fly, Bobby? Check it out. Hey everybody, Max Scoville here. We are at Gamescom 2023, and I'm with my esteemed colleague Alex Simmons, who just got a chance to play RoboCop Rogue City. What did you make of it? It's a RoboCop game, but is it fun?
Slow is the main thing. Like, RoboCop is super methodical in how he moves. He doesn't run about like you would normally do in a shooter. He doesn't really use cover like you would normally do in a shooter. He's a bullet sponge that just walks into the middle of the firefight, gets shot from every direction, but equally, he's RoboCop, so he dishes out loads of death, I guess.
It seemed, I got to watch you play a bit, it seemed good on a lot of levels, but I do have some questions and some hesitation. He's got his iconic sidearm, which is an awesome gun. Can you use other guns?
So you can. Like, the Auto 9 is his main weapon, and you can upgrade it a lot to have armor piercing, explosives, etc. But you can pick up grenade launchers and you can pick up other weapons. But frankly, I didn't have to. Like, we played a new level of the game, which is very much combat focused. It's about a third of the way into the game, and throughout 15 minutes, I think I died once. And that was my own mistake because I forgot to pick up a battery, which is the health back in the game. And so it's almost like RoboCop is invincible. And if you've got this great gun, why do you need a grenade launcher?
Yeah, it's sort of I don't know, it's a little bit of a quandary there. Now, something that strikes me as interesting is this is also adding some like crime-solving elements, some puzzle elements, some branching narrative elements. Can you talk about those a little bit?
So they hinted at it, but they've not really shown exactly what it means. There's one part in this level where you find a perpetrator and you give them a choice. You can either show your empathy side, your human side, and let them off with a caution, or you can be RoboCop, give them a ticket. Now, the dev has hinted that has much bigger implications later in the game, to the point where it affects endgame. But for me, all I saw was somebody being just a little bit hacked off with me, a few swear words, and off they went.
Now, this is the same studio that did Terminator Resistance, which, again, was a thing that could have probably just been a straightforward shooter, but it had a bunch of surprisingly ambitious RPG elements.
Yeah.
It had romance options, very, very sexy ones. A lot of people don't even know that. I feel like they're kind of taking a similar approach here. There was a whole bomb defusal sequence, which was felt like almost a Resident Evil puzzle.
It's super simple. It is like, which wire is the one to cut before it blows your face off. And again, they've hinted that there's way more stuff like that. This was combat, and there's going to be a lot more investigation. RoboCop's not really known for his investigation. It's dead or alive, you're coming with me. But apparently he does go out there, he looks for clues, evidence. I've not seen any of that, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. No, it's sort of quizzical. This game is supposedly coming out very, very soon, so I'm skeptical, but kind of curious at the same time. It's also an Unreal 5 game. It's one of the first sort of wave of, more advanced, more polished games to come out. What was your takeaway on sort of the technical side of it?
So it looks gorgeous, and obviously RoboCop himself is super pristine. You can't fault that side of it at all. Even when he's going through the mission and he's shooting stuff, the destruction looks great. It's got that 80s jank, and I don't know if that's on purpose or whether it's just how the game is developed, but it feels authentic. Because the dialogue, even that, is super cheesy.
There was one instance where you shot a guy in the crotch and his animation falling over was like excessively drawn out, and I was like, that's some Verhoeven stuff right there. That's spot on.
You know what? I would buy that for $1.
Yeah, I would buy that for $1. I was really impressed. Also, the destruction physics were really cool. Like everything was just getting blown apart. Like just a ton of that.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing. Obviously, you've got your Auto 9, but you can use anything that you come up in against the game. And in this one level, there were these bikers that were attacking me, moving super fast, hard to shoot. But being RoboCop, you can just pick up like a dustbin, throw it at them, knock it off their bike, and then when they're off, you can then pick up the bike and then throw the bikes at the bikes.
That's the part that got me kind of interested. Like, because I think it's RoboCop has his strengths, literally and otherwise, and his weaknesses. And again, the sort of the plotting approach is it's tank controls. Like he is kind of tanky, and it's Now they mentioned, I think you can pick up other weapons. You mentioned the grenade launcher.
Yeah.
I feel like he does get the big 50 cal sniper rifle at some point in the movies, right? And
Yes. And then at one point you do fight the guys that have got that. There was one bit where you go into a room where there are snipers, grenade launchers, and people with massive machine guns. You can go and pick them up and you can use them if you want. But again, the Auto 9 was so powerful, I was like, hey, I'll just stick with this.
It's interesting. I'm curious to see where this goes exactly. Did they talk about lore at all, like where it takes place in the timeline?
So it takes place directly after RoboCop 2 and before 3. In terms of story, all we know so far is that obviously Rogue City is overthrown by these street vultures, which is this gang, and obviously there is this friction between OCP and RoboCop. Like, you go up against OCP in a lot of the levels, and if you do well, you get bonus points to go towards XP. If you don't, well, you're just going to be lowly Robo.
Interesting. Now, there's one mechanic that I thought was very, very authentic, where he could bust through walls and do sort of a breach mechanic.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit? Did that feel good? That's one of those ones you kind of need to do it yourself.
Of course, but it's exactly like, I guess it's the same thing that you would see in Call of Duty. You bust through a wall, everything goes into slow motion, you pop out the pistol, and then headshots all around. Yeah, it feels great. And I'd like to see more of that. I think that ultimately that was my takeaway. I kind of like what I've seen so far, or it's got me interested, but I want to see all the other stuff that's being spoken about. I want to see the investigation side. I want to see the differences that those choices make. And hopefully that will be in the next thing that we see.
Yeah, well, one way or the other, RoboCop Rogue City is coming out sooner than later, which is kind of shocking. Would you buy it for $1? We'll kind of have to wait and see, but we've got lots more coverage coming out of Gamescom, so stick around.
This fall, Mortal Kombat 1 returns with the same blood-soaked, bone-crunching action we've come to expect from the series, but it's also got some new tricks up its sleeve. Here to tell me about it is Ed Boon from NetherRealm Studios. Welcome back to the IGN stage here, Ed.
Thanks. It's always great to talk to you guys.
So, just about a little less than a month out from the launch of Mortal Kombat 1. Mortal Kombat is really known for having these excellent story modes enjoyed by casual and hardcore fans alike. I think you guys are just the best at including story modes in your fighting game. When did that become important for NetherRealm? Over the course of Mortal Kombat's 30-year history, when did it become important for you to put all this extra time and polish into the story mode?
Actually, it was back in Mortal Kombat vs. DC was the first time we did that. A lot of people think that it was Mortal Kombat 9 that we did it, but MK vs. DC had it, and it was something that we really had to refine, getting a lot of the stuff under the hood going as far as having it to function. But with each version that we've done, it's been more and more well received by players, and so we just kind of raising the presentation bar, and it's kind of become a staple with our games at this point.
Yeah, I agree. As someone who likes fighting games but isn't super good at them competitively, I love having a fun single-player mode to play through the game myself. So having reset the timeline with Mortal Kombat 11, what were some of the key stories that you wanted to revisit and recalibrate over the 30-year saga?
We actually wanted to revisit and recalibrate and reinvent everything. The whole goal with making the Mortal Kombat 1 story was taking the existing characters that everybody knows and putting them in a brand new story, literally starting from a big bang that Liu Kang creates. And so it's a new story with familiar characters, and all the relationships we're trying to change around to be different and just kind of reintroduce all the characters.
Invasions are replacing the crypt this time around, which I think we saw some footage of just now. What can you tell us about this new mode for unlocking cool extras for your characters? Sure.
Like you were speaking about before, we've always put a big focus on the single-player experience, and Invasions is kind of like the next step. So if you look at it, you can almost think of Invasions as a board game that is multiple city blocks long. So the player is going from node to node, getting challenges, getting rewards, getting all of these different tasks they have to do. And it also has an RPG element, so they're leveling up their character, they're getting them stronger, and it's probably the most reward-friendly part of Mortal Kombat 1. It had most of the rewards are just really buried in there, and it's a very long, extensive single-player experience that we upgrade with a new season about every 6 weeks.
That sounds great. I can't wait to dive into that. Now, you've had several betas over the past few months. What learnings have you taken from that and have been able to incorporate into the final game?
A lot. We absolutely, we had the tech beta and then we've had the pre-order bonus, and each one we've seen so many things that players have done that we had no idea could be done. A lot of them were great fun things, but there was a couple that we had to kind of turn a few knobs to make sure, kind of the speed of the motion of the characters, we dialed up a bit, and there was just tons of constructive feedback that we got from players that, it was invaluable to have those demos.
Now, you've revealed, included in your upcoming downloadable characters are Omni-Man, Homelander, Peacemaker. For Homelander and Peacemaker, you've got Anthony Starr and John Cena, the likenesses of the actors. Are the actors actually coming in to record any dialogue or any grunts for the characters?
We had J.K. Simmons coming in. We had John Cena. So we're super fortunate to get them excited enough that they know they know what Mortal Kombat is, and they come in, and it just adds that additional layer of authenticity to get the voice actor in there.
Yeah, that's very cool. And then actually in a recent interview with IGN, we were talking about Omni-Man and Homelander. Even though the characters are actually fairly similar, you're going to make sure that they play very differently in the final game. Can you elaborate on that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a number of people think of Homelander and Omni-Man as evil versions of Superman, right? And so they have super strength, they can fly, and they're that kind of category. But we're absolutely going to make them play differently. There's obviously a ton you can do with a character that can fly and is that strong. Just paths that they take. Right. It's not like it's this free for all. So they will absolutely play differently.
And when it comes to designing fatalities, obviously it seems like you guys have no limits, like let's just go as crazy, as wacky as possible. But with characters like Homelander that are seemingly all-powerful, is that an extra challenge, or do you have to actually show some restraint at that point?
No. It's one of the easy ones. We're such fans of these characters, and we've watched the shows, and we love getting inspiration from some of the things that they've done in the shows and turning them into a fatality. So that's going to be a big part of that whole experience of playing those characters.
That's super exciting. Here at Gamescom, you announced new playable characters, Sindel and General Shao. What can you tell us about how they fit into the story?
Oh, well, they, in Mortal Kombat 11, we presented them like they were married, right? And they were absolutely aligned. It's much more, I don't want to give the whole thing away, but it's much more confrontational with them this time, and it is still about kind of struggle for power in that respect, but their situations are completely different from what they were in Mortal Kombat 11, which is the case with all of our characters. So there's definitely some headbutting between those two.
Then you also revealed two new cameo characters, Motaro and Shujinko.
That's right.
How do you make the decisions? Okay, this is going to be a playable character. This one's cameo. This one's going to be both. How do those talks play out?
A lot of it is a character like Motaro. He'd be hard to control. As we had him playable, or we had him as a boss in Mortal Kombat 3, and it's a character that is fun to see, but because of their shape, makes for a better cameo than he would a main roster fighter. And as far as Shujinko is concerned, Shujinko is part of the 3D era characters that we're really making an effort to bring back. And since he isn't part of the story, we put him into the cameo roster, and which is the cameo roster in general. Most of them are unrelated to the story, so those are the novelties that we add. So characters that you haven't seen in a long time are just making these kind of cameo appearances.
Last question. With less than a month to go before Mortal Kombat 1, what's the one thing you're most excited about for players to discover with this game?
For me, it's the cameo fighters, but there's a ton of new things. The invasions is going to be a lot of fun. There's a lot of secrets in there. This is Mortal Kombat. That's a big part of what we consider its signature is these secrets. But there's so much single player experience. More than we've ever put in a big game. To me, the cameo fighters is going to be what's really going to let players come up with new ideas, express themselves with combining their favorite fighter, and it's the mixing and matching of these main cameo fighters that I think is going to be the kind of like the sandbox that everybody's going to be playing in.
I'm super excited. Ed, thank you so much for coming by the IGN stage.
Thanks for having me.
Mortal Kombat 1 hits PS5, Xbox Series, PC, and Nintendo Switch September 19th. There's lots more Gamescom Studios still to come right here on IGN.
The Cinefix Top 100. A list so secretive even we don't know what movies are on it or where they rank.
What do you mean you don't know?
Each episode will reveal one of the movies.
Did I rush it? Felt like I rushed. That was good. I liked it.
Talk about why it belongs and finally find out where it ranks.
Are you not entertained?
Are any of the movies we've shown here even on the list? I have no idea, and it drives me crazy. Join us as we find out on the Cinefix Top 100, Mondays starting July 3rd.
Why so serious?
Hey, you. Yes, you. Do you have FOMC? Fear of missing Gamescom? Relax. Gamescom is everywhere you want. Gamescom now. Register now.
Tune into IGN 1 on your smart TVs for the latest news on your favorite releases, gameplay exclusives, and all the entertainment you can handle.
Cinefix on IGN 1, your friendly Friday night home for film fanaticism.
You're watching The Weekly Fix, ready to fill you in on anything you may have missed in the world of gaming and entertainment.
Welcome to Should I Play This? This is what to watch here on IGN 1.
Find it all in one place for free on IGN 1.
They turned into a network. Who knew?
Hey everybody, Seth Macy here for IGN. I'm at Cities in the Sky here at Gamescom. I'm about to sit down in a gamer chair and then they're gonna lift me 50 meters into the sky on a crane. For Americans, that's about 150 feet in freedom measurements. Yeah, this is gonna be interesting. And I'm gonna be playing City Skylines 2 while I dangle in the sky over a city. So it's extremely literal. Yeah, here we go. We're going into the sky. I'm gonna play a video game at 150 feet in the sky. It's normal. It's just a normal thing. It's just a normal day. Wow, there's still more. We're still going up more. I think we've come to a stop. All right, let's take a look. Wow. There's a blood that's growing. Okay, right now we're spinning around, and I tend to get a little motion sick when I'm reading things and I'm also moving. Thankfully, I'm just gonna play the demo of City Skylines 2. Gaming time in the sky. Let's go! Hey, look, it's me. The sun is directly behind me. This is the Dom. What's up, Dom? So it's kind of hard for me to see my screen. So I'm just gonna I guess I'm just gonna enjoy the fact that I'm 150 feet up in the sky on a beautiful day in Cologne. Well, I just came down from my City in the Sky adventure, where I was building a city literally in the sky, in City Skylines 2. Please, I'm proud to present Skytown, USA. Center of industry, a center of commerce, a few houses. I wasn't as nervous as I thought I was going to be, but there were a couple times where something would clang and I'd be like, whoop, then I just lost my cool. But then I'd try to compose again. But yeah, I was dangling my feet. I was having a good old time. Being 50 meters in the air on a beautiful sun-filled day in Cologne, Germany is less than optimal, because what would happen is I would spin around and then the sun would completely obscure the view of my beautiful city in the sky. I would love to do this again. We were quite an attraction. People were beeping at us, yelling at us. Everybody was having a good time. I think everybody was having a good time. I can't say that for a fact. I was having a good time. But yeah, I would absolutely do this again. You know what the only thing that was missing was? A big old steak. I want to play a video game and eat a big old steak in the sky.
Hello, Night City, and welcome to this special news update on Cyberpunk 2077's upcoming expansion, Phantom Liberty. Joining me to help us deep dive into what to expect for this expansion is Phantom Liberty director Gabriel Amatangelo at CD Projekt Red. Hey, good to see you again.
Hi, you as well. Hi, everyone.
Okay, so I want to talk about the levels, because obviously we're getting into a completely new town and new area in Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
So tell me about it. How many buildings can we go into? Are there lots of little secrets hidden around?
Dogtown. So Dogtown is ruled by Kurt Hansen, and he is sort of a de facto colonel from the new United States. And he seized the area, and so he kind of rules it with an iron fist, if you will. He's like a militia leader. And he exploits with various different weapons dealing and trading, and other black market goods, and some of which the players can get a hold of. So generally speaking, we wanted it to have sort of an oppressive feel. So you see his militia, his units around, and you kind of are on edge. The communities are, ruled with strictly, if you will. But at the same time, the NCPD and the corpos are not allowed there. So it's a place that some, unsavory characters escape to. So it's a rougher area.
Could we be one of those unsavory characters?
Certainly, it's a role-playing game after all. You can, and I think we talked about a little bit last time. If you start committing crimes or getting out of order in that area, he will send his units after you, and it can escalate, and they can bring out APCs, vehicles with mounted weapons, so on and so forth.
Yeah. So we have new footage here. So kind of run me through what we're seeing right now.
So this is our gameplay trailer, and right now we're seeing Dogtown at the beginning when you this is in the story, right after the plane gets shot down, like we saw in the story trailer, and exploring the kind of destruction that it caused in the way. We're getting into a vehicle right now and going to head to the crash site, where you're going to start to see some of Kurt's militia kind of trying to lock down the area, and you're going to have to tread carefully.
Yeah, so we see some vehicular gameplay here, obviously, but vehicle combat is a big addition to Phantom Liberty. And how did that influence the streets and the quests of Dogtown?
Yeah, so I mean, you can, as you're going from location to location, let's say quest spot to quest spot, along the way there's a lot of dynamic events that can happen. For example, I said that he deals with some black market goods. There could be some airdrops or some caravans, and you can intercept them, and there's an emergent encounter that happens from it, and you can get some loot, find some goodies, that kind of stuff, and you can do it on foot, you can do it in your vehicle, pull out an SMG, you can do, drive-bys on your bike and slash them with your katana blade. And so there's a lot of emergent sort of activities and events that happen throughout.
That's awesome. So what will players get if they do intercept one of those airdrops? Do they get a new weapon?
They can. You can get various new weapons. You can also get different kind of upgrades, skill shards, things of this nature. It's kind of a surprise. It's a RPG.
That's awesome. Okay. Yeah. So
and I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's also little story segments and stuff as well that you can find in it. Some Easter eggs.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a big push for you to want to go and grab those airdrops then.
Yeah.
So previously, the lead level designer did talk about wanting to reward the players the maximum choice and effort and reward from discovery and exploration. So does Phantom Liberty increase the amount of freedom of choice for players?
In so many ways. Like I was saying, the kind of freedom of choice of just exploring the world and having emergent encounters, there's a lot of different, like as the story progresses, different things happen in the story, and I don't want to give away any Easter eggs, but you can find little pieces and props and things that kind of support different events that kind of happen off screen, if you will. And as far as the player characters, we revamped the skill system, and so now there's so many different ways that you can kind of fulfill your fantasy on how you want to play as a cyberpunk with new cyberware and stuff like that. So I think that's along the lines of what he was speaking to before. Yeah.
I love that we're watching this gameplay and just hearing that alert noise. It brings back so many good memories for me. I love it.
Right on.
So what was the biggest challenge you faced with creating Dogtown?
Oh, well, trying to strike the balance between having that kind of oppressive feel, if you will, and that danger, and also encouraging exploration. We think we struck a good balance with how you can kind of get in and out of encounters and all the different tools you have now to escape. For example, air dash, and the new, you can cloak and get out of combat, a lot of different stuff like that. But I would say that was probably the biggest challenge in the overall kind of level design of it.
Okay, yeah, and I think previously when we talked, you said that travel here would be pretty seamless, right? Being able to get from one part of town to Dogtown, right?
Oh, yeah. So at the beginning, you approach a very sort of intimidating gate, and there's a story sequence there on how you're going to get through it, and I don't want to spoil any of that. But as you get farther in, you're going to, because V as a merc have some fixer connections, you're going to get some connections to be able to pass in and out. But yeah, it's contiguous from the beginning of the story. It's contiguous all the way in, and then as you want to come and go, and you can go back into base game quests, back into Phantom Liberty quests. You can go back and forth at your leisure.
Okay, so if you were to recommend this to a new player, would you say, hey, play through the main story first, or would you say that they could play this and then also incorporate Dogtown in, their full playthrough?
I mean, the most fun is definitely both parts, but we are introducing so much in 2.0 that you get for free, without Phantom Liberty. So it's the best time to come back. I mean, I don't know how else to answer that. There's so much. I could go on forever. There's so much I can speak to of what specifically in 2.0 versus Phantom Liberty. I don't know if we want to get into that, but I could.
I mean, yeah, no, what are your favorite parts of 2.0 that you're very excited for players to get their hands on?
Yeah, so I mean, well, the police system and how that is very organic and has, it escalates to where, like I was saying, at certain points, they'll start bringing out the big guns, vehicle combat. You can get into a fight with MaxTac. There's 5 different MaxTac archetypes. 4 of them come down in an AV at once. They can hack your vehicle and stop you. This is probably the part I'm the most excited about. But then again, no, I mean, I'm equally as excited about all the new ways you can play, the new skill trees. Like, you can be a Terminator now, right? Like, you can pick up a heavy machine gun, and now you can just, and before you were like this when you're shooting it, and now you can, steady shot it. You can pick up bodies and throw it at people. You can just, You can leap and smash. You can push your cyberware to limit and get into a fury mode, very much inspired by David and Edge Runners. And your health starts going down, but the more you press your attack in that build, the more you're getting your health back. So it's a new way to play right in the mix of the action. We still have the traditional, cover fire and stuff like that, but we got new AI, new mechanics. The Netrunners have a new way. The Netrunner NPCs have a new way they come at you. They can proxy their hacks through devices. Like I said, I could go on for so long. There's so much new stuff to talk about.
Yeah, that makes me so happy to hear you get so excited, and I'm really excited. I feel like I'm just taking your energy and absorbing it, and I'm next month cannot come fast enough. Every time we talk, I just get more excited. So I do have to ask, obviously, last time we talked, this was going to be the last expansion for Cyberpunk. So is this going to be, I know you're going to have more mini updates for balancing and such, but is this pretty much the end of the big expansions for Cyberpunk and basically full steam on the sequel?
Yes. This is the last big expansion, and we'll have some smaller updates afterwards. But yeah, and then it's going to be Cyberpunk 2.
So excited. I feel like you're giving us so much with this, and now you're giving us a sequel? That's going to be so fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is your favorite weapon that has come out from this next update?
Okay, so Well, one thing to note, like I'm terrible at remembering skill names and weapon names because we've changed them a few times through development. Okay. But there's the new sniper rifle because this is like a Phantom Liberty is kind of very inspired by the spy thriller genre, and so there's a new sniper rifle that's a lot of fun. That's I want to leave it for discovery, but it's got some new features to it. That's one of them. That's one of my favorites. Yeah.
I'm very excited. I do love just feeling this power of a sniper rifle, right? Usually I like going guns blazing and, just going in head first, but I'll take a sniper rifle. I'll play it slow, just for you.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
Well, Gabriel, thank you so much. Gabe, thank you so much for joining us today. And I cannot wait to jump back into Cyberpunk 2077 and probably terrorize Dogtown, but that's okay.
And you can play it here at the convention.
Yes, I'm actually going to go do that after this. Yeah, perfect.
Let's do it.
Well, Phantom Liberty will drop September 26th on PC, Xbox, and PS5. Stick around for more Gamescom Studio, powered by IGN.
One big surprise here at Gamescom was after the Starfield presentation, the Fallout TV show was showing.
Yes.
I have a terrible memory. What did we see during the short trailer?
Well, yeah, it was a surprise. As Todd Howard presented it, and he said, this will never be released to the public, so we're here to tell you what we saw.
That's right.
The Fallout TV show, which I'm not going to lie, I forgot was on the way. Yeah. Coming from Jonathan Nolan, director, creator of Westworld, not creator of original Westworld, but, the new TV show. And you know what? I think it looked quite good.
I do too. All the CG looked good.
Yeah.
And I like the characters that they're focusing on. They had the vault mode. They had all the right notes.
Yeah.
Right?
It had the right feel. It did say at the end 2024, so we can expect it next year, Prime Video. But there were some cool details for fans, I think. So the first shot of it reminded me quite a bit of Dune. So a bit almost like a more urban Arrakis. It was very, very dusty, sandy conditions with some little buildings popping out. And then the next shot you see is a vertibird coming in, I think, and the Brotherhood of Steel.
Several
vertibirds. Yeah. And the Brotherhood of Steel just ominously walking towards camera, looking quite menacing.
Yeah. And they looked really good. I don't think it was CG, maybe a little CG.
No, they look real
like
costumes.
Practical.
It looked pretty practical, which, Jonathan Nolan isn't Christopher Nolan, but he's his brother who loves practical effects. They must share that sort of sentiment. But and what else did we see? We saw a vault open. I'm not gonna lie, I looked down while I was making notes. I didn't see that one, so you have to tell me what that looked like.
We saw a female character blocking the sunlight, and then we saw the iconic door opening sequence, and we assume that she went outside, but I didn't catch the vault number when we were watching it, but it had that, and then after that, there was a character, I think they're called ghouls in the game.
Yes, right? So it was a ghoul character, I believe played by Walter Goggins, if anyone knows that actor. I believe he's cast as a ghoul character in this show. He had like a cowboy hat. It reminded me a bit of John Hancock from Fallout 4. I don't know if it was meant to be him, but it was that sort of vibe of character. And what else did we see? There was one more thing I had in my head.
Lots of explosions.
That was the one, the nukes that caused the Fallout in the first place. Looks like a fairly present day thing. Didn't look very, because obviously Fallout, a lot of the stuff frozen in time from the 50s, 60s sort of era. This looks a bit more modern day, but it's always hard to tell.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that because one of the big aesthetics of the world are like the music, the radio stations, where it's all sort of old-timey.
Yeah. I mean, I might have been wrong there. It was a long way away.
No, you're right. It looked modern.
Yeah, it did. And one thing we didn't see any Vault Boys, any bobbleheads. Do you think we're going to be walking around? They're going to be walking around that TV show collecting bobbleheads?
Well, maybe. It did open up with like the Fallout 3 style television, like with the tubes and everything.
Yeah. I mean, it was barely a minute long, this teaser, and probably only about 8 shots fading up and down, and Amazon Prime television show. Yes, Prime Video, 2024.
Yeah.
And there's not really much more to say apart from we saw it.
Amazon has Invincible. They have
I believe they're doing the God of War show as well.
They're doing God of War. So, they have a lot of wins coming, so I'm excited about this.
Yeah.
Jonathan Nolan, you know, it's got all of the checkmark boxes.
It looked right. Until we, know the story, see some of the characters and the writing, we obviously won't know. But the feel of it and the music kind of felt right. They had the crackle of the Fallout logo at the end as well.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm into it.
I'm in also. I can't wait to see more. Simon, thank you so much. Thank you for watching, and for more on all things gaming, keep it right here at IGN.
into IGN One on your smart TVs for the latest news on your favorite releases, gameplay exclusives, and all the entertainment you can handle.
Cinefix on IGN One, your friendly Friday night home for film fanaticism.
You're watching The Weekly Fix, ready to fill you in on anything you may have missed in the world of gaming and entertainment.
Welcome to Should I Play This? This is what to watch here on IGN One.
Find it all in one place for free on IGN One.
They turned into a network. Who knew?
Be there. Be strong. Be fierce. Be better. Be different. Be winning. Be epic. Be you at Gamescom 23. Come and be everything at Gamescom 2023.
Everybody, Max Scoville here with Stella Chung. We are at Gamescom 2023, and we just got a chance to go hands-on with one of this fall's most promising-looking sequels, which is Ghost Runner 2. Stella, what'd you think?
It's so awesome! I felt really bad because when we were in the room playing, I was the loudest person there, just like screaming and everything. It is so fun, guys. Like, I played the first game. This does everything the first game did, but way better.
Yeah, we talked to the devs a bit about it, and they said that this is more of an evolution than a revolution, which is frequently the case with, second video games, and they've definitely done a lot to sort of just keep things familiar, but also adding on a lot of new mechanics. And one thing they added that might seem like they're trying to make it easier actually adds a lot of variety, which is the ability to block, which of course also has a parry system to go with it. And this is by no means a Souls-like game, but this does add like a little pinch of Souls-like type combat to it. What did you like about that? Did that work for you?
Oh my god, yeah, I loved it. So it grants you a lot of precision with being able to parry it. You get a perfect parry and you're rewarded with an insta-kill, right? Which is great, especially for those heavier enemies that take a few hits to go down. So it really rewards you for being as precise as you can be. Of course, you can just block, which is great, but you only get a few shots before you're killed, right? And you have to start all the way over at the beginning. So I do love that you're rewarded for being so good with the parry button. Love it.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like the first one was very much, it had some like Hotline Miami to it.
Yeah.
Like it was very much about like trial and error. You're trying to find that sort of that perfect flow, and this still has that, but it kind of gives you different options to how you want to approach something. And they've I feel like made the arenas larger to sort of reflect that. Inevitably they have got some new enemies in there. I asked if there were any sort of major changes to Jack, the main character, in terms of how he controls or moves. And the developer told me that like they mostly kept him the same, or it should feel the same to people who are familiar with playing, but enemies will now kind of react differently. Like enemies there's been some fine tuning to sort of how they approach you, which should add some fun challenge there. He'll have new abilities, like new skills on top of the ability to block and stuff. And it sounds like you're really going to be able to kind of really customize your loadout to a certain degree and approach situations, shake things up a little bit. The other big thing they added is, of course, the motorbike, which is just dripping with wonderful cyberpunk DNA. It's got some like straight up on the nose Akira references. Like when it's first revealed, Jack just rips the the tarp off it like Kaneda. There's a little Akira slide at the end there. Very good. I also love that the entire sort of dynamic of the whole thing has a bit of Judge Dredd to it. Like you're kind of escaping the big, Mega City 1 tower, and you're gonna be going out in the outskirts. They said there's gonna be like sandbox areas where you're just like jetting around on your bike and you'll be able to hop off it, fight a bunch of guys, do some stuff like that. But the segment of bike stuff we got to mess with, which was really more you because I kind of tapped out early, but it almost felt like a shmup.
Yeah, oh my god, it's so good. Like, it's so cool, but it definitely makes you, my hands were so sweaty by the end of it because I was just like, oh my god, I have to not hit this, not hit that. And then at the same time, you have to press down the accelerate button, but also there's a boost button, which I have to use frequently. It's not like Mario Kart where like you can only use it
Yeah. No, I mean, it's an interesting approach because I feel like in racing games, like a boost it's a luxury. It's something you have a finite amount of. In this case, it's more of a necessity, but you're going so fast that it'll basically
it can be detrimental if you let off of it. And the thing you're doing is you're chasing after like another ghost runner, an evil ghost runner, and it almost felt like in an open world game, like a chase sequence where you have to keep a certain distance to them, and there's a little bar at the top of the screen that basically the more you slow down, the faster that shrinks. And the idea is you want to kind of just hold down that boost and keep within range of that other person. But of course, speed kills. So we wound up going down this whole sort of tunnel, which was just like basically a murderous water slide.
I know. You know what? I was telling you that this game looks beautiful, and so much about this game is speed, being able to do things so precisely, so quickly. And it sucks because the world is beautiful, and it's still in Unreal 4, which was unbelievable. It's gorgeous. And I'm just like, let me slow down and experience this, but you can't because it's go, go, go.
No, this is not a game about stopping and smelling the roses. But it's really cool to see the developers took what made the first game special and are just expanding on it and really growing on it. And, I'm excited to see how people respond to it. And the nice thing about it is even if you suck, it's really fun to watch other people play it. And I think speedrunners are going to have a blast with this. That is out October 26th on, I think, old gen, new gen, and PC, something like that. We're dying to see more of it. But of course, there are plenty of other games right here at Gamescom. We're going to check some of those out, too.
One does not simply walk into Mordor. Moria, on the other hand, is pretty straightforward. You just speak friend and enter. Here to tell us about The Lord of the Rings Return to Moria, our friend, game director John Paul Dumont from Free Range Games. Welcome.
Thank you.
So you have a game that is about dwarves in Moria, mining. They're digging around, doing some stuff. People hear Lord of the Rings, they typically think the trilogy, but this is set in the Fourth Age. Mm-hmm. What does that mean in terms of lore? What are the stakes here? Because Sauron's dead. A lot of people have kind of, moved off to Florida.
Yeah.
Grey Havens, what have you. So what's at stake and what's kind of going on in Middle-earth as a
well, you hit on why we picked the story that we picked is what is the highest stakes. We knew we wanted to do dwarves and survival crafting because they're such perfect survival crafters. To them, there's no greater stakes than going back and taking their ancestral homeland.
Now let's talk about the sort of the crafting and the survival. How does sort of resources and crafting and all that work?
Well, the big thing is we jump right to forging, metalworking. These are the dwarves, after all. They don't just pick something up and use it. They make it themselves. So a lot of the game is mining. It's creating new alloys, discovering recipes for forged items that are ancient and older than they have right now in the Third or the Fourth Age.
Now I have to ask. We've seen some building in the trailer and gameplay here, but one of the things, the bridge of Khazad-dûm is like not in great shape. Will you be rebuilding it?
That's one of the parts of the game. Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Khazad-dûm. Absolutely. Yeah. So what happens is Gimli puts out this call. His time on Middle Earth is starting to get towards the end, and he feels like we've got to go back and take Moria back and make it Khazad-dûm. And so he puts out a call to all the dwarves across Middle-earth, and they all gather. And then things happen as you get inside, and you start to learn what's been going on in the 70 years since the ring was destroyed.
Nice. Now, you touched on Gimli. John Rhys-Davies was in the trailer. Can you talk a little bit about working with him?
He was great. John Rhys-Davies is back as Gimli in Return to Moria. So we're really excited. He is Gimli. No one else could be Gimli but John Rhys-Davies. And you just hear the voice and you immediately know, yes, this is it.
I love it. Now let's talk about the mines as a whole and sort of how the world is laid out. Can you just sort of give us a crash course? Like how deep is it going to go? I guess how's it going to change? Is part of it locked off, or is it just full on go anywhere?
First, it's a procedural generated version of Moria. So the key landmarks, the Dimmerl Gate in the east, the Holland Gate in the west, the endless stairs, those are all there where you would expect if you really love the lore and know about it. But everything in between is generated differently. So I'll play one game and you could play a different game, and the path I would take to get to the different story points is different each time.
Awesome. And yeah, this is clearly meant to sort of, you get different crews together. It's got four-player co-op?
On the Epic Store, we're going to be up to 8 players. Oh, wow. On PlayStation 5, we'll be 4 players at launch.
That's awesome. Can you talk a little bit about sort of how the game scales and how it reacts to more dwarves rooting around, singing and making noise and all that?
Yeah, well, it's going to be a different experience depending on if you're playing solo or if you're playing with up to 8 players. So if you're playing 8 players, resources are going to be a lot more scarce. When the when the orcs inevitably decide that they've heard you're here and come to take you down, there's going to be not only more of them, but they're going to be harder, and they're going to start bringing trolls with them. If you're playing alone, there will be more resources, but it becomes a little scarier. A lot of what you have to do in the game is manage your light and your noise. So it's a darker game when you're by yourself. It's a little scarier. It's a little bit more like a crafting horror game than it is the sort of jaunt that 8 players are. With 8 players, you get together, you brew some ale, you sing while you're drinking, and then when you're by yourself, it's really about like making sure you're prepared and that you've got everything you need before you move forward.
Now, there was a little prompt that popped up where the dwarfs had inspiration and you had the option to start singing.
Yes.
Tell me what that does. Tell me about that.
Well, I mean, part of Lord of the Rings is the songs.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
Professor Tolkien spent a lot of time recreating the kinds of poems that would have happened in Old English and or the Norse sagas that he based the books on. So in our game, as you're mining, as you're have a mug of ale out, and even when you're in a very important historical place, inspiration can strike, and then you can start singing. And each one of our dwarves, you can pick up to 10 voices to play, and each one of them has a different singing voice. So if you're playing with 2 people, they start to call in response and sing together. When you sing while you're mining, it makes the burden of mining easier, and you can mine harder and longer and get better stuff. You can sing to open up different areas. There are ancient runes of power that lock off areas, and if you know the right words to sing, then they'll open up.
Now, what about language?
Yeah.
Because they speak English sometimes. Is there Dwarvish too?
We did. We actually worked with a linguist named David Sallow who recreated the entire Dwarvish language for us. So we have a full lexicon, a full grammar, and in fact, you can pick, when you're picking your dwarf, you can choose to tell that dwarf to always speak in the Khuzdul language if you wanted to. And it's totally translatable. We're hoping to release that language to the fans.
Oh man, that is so much fun. Now let's talk combat and enemies. First big question is, like, a lot of people hear Moria, they think, the Balrog, but the Balrog is, not around these days. So what kind of stuff can we expect to see besides?
Well, the Balrog was a threat you needed someone like Gandalf to take out, and so to tell that story again would be telling Gandalf's story.
Right.
And we've been really excited to try to tell a new story. So many experiences in Lord of the Rings are replaying the Ring story, and we want to tell something completely different. So we have a different big enemy that you will eventually figure out what's going on, and that's a big surprise. So I don't want to spoil that. But throughout, you are going to fight orcs and trolls, and you're going to find out what the unnamed things are that gnaw deep below the bones of the mountain.
Ooh. Now, because it's procedurally generated, is it sort of a different surprise around every corner?
It is, yeah. As you move through the story, it gets harder, and you need better stuff, and you progress from city and suburban kind of biomes into mines biomes, into what is down in the flooded areas, and then what are the darkest parts, and then on to eventually you get to the great city of Dwaradelf and these huge vistas. It's one of the fun things about the game is as you're going, you come across a collapse and you have to dig your way through from section to section. And each time you do that, you don't know what's on the other side. It could be a room that looks just like you were in. It could be a camp of orcs ready to ambush you. It could be a giant city vista with waterfalls and a grand view.
Oh man, this is all really exciting.
Here is actually one of our deepest parts of the game that will take you a pretty long section. You're going to have to be really prepared. So you are actually descending from one of the higher levels down all the way to the deepest section you can go. So this is a little bit of truncated so we could show the whole thing, but this is a group of dwarfs descending way, way far deep. One of our deepest descents.
I'm very excited to check this out. You can go mine some Mithril for yourself when the Lord of the Rings Return to Moria hits PC and new-gen consoles later this year. But right now, more Gamescom Studio right here on IGN.
IGN Playlist is the best way to track your game collection. Now you can even import your entire Steam library to Playlist, making it easier than ever to review games, show off your collection to the world, and finally chip away at that massive backlog you keep meaning to get to. IGN Playlist, check it out.
Welcome to Super Debatable. When you got big takes on superheroes as hot as ours, well, you need a place to vent them.
And that's exactly what we'll be doing week after week on Super Debatable, arguing over the most divisive topics facing fans.
The MCU, that multiversal mess peaked years ago. It's all downhill from here.
James Gunn and Peter Safran should absolutely nuke the Snyderverse. We could argue about this all day.
And we will. Join us on Super Debatable Fridays on IGN. Want the ultimate IGN experience? Check out IGN Plus. Members get exclusive deals and giveaways, ad-free browsing, unlimited tracking on IGN Maps, discounts at the IGN store and with IGN partners. And best of all, free games. Get 30 days of IGN Plus for just $1. Head to plus.ign.com.
Hey everybody, I'm here with Robert and Paula from Fool's Theory, here to talk to them about a new RPG called The Thaumaturge. First question, what exactly is a thaumaturge, and what sets thaumaturgy apart from other forms of magic?
Well, I would say that thaumaturgy is different from other kinds of magic because of salutors, which are our specific unique demons. And a thaumaturge is like a miracle worker, because a thauma is an ancient word from Greek, which means miracle. Yeah. So a thaumaturge can actually bond with these creatures, the salutors, and then he can use them in combat or
during any difficult encounter that you may have, right? So you can use these skills not just in combat, but also conversation. There is a degree of influence that the thaumaturge has over other people.
Ooh, interesting. So this game is set in early 20th century Poland. Can you tell me a little bit about sort of the intersection of the fantasy element and the historical context?
Right, so the game is set specifically in 1905, which is a time of certain social upheaval in the Russian Empire, because revolutions, social unrest, we have the war on the horizon looming somewhere as tensions grow in the West. So that we found that this setting is sort of an interesting place to set our game, as certain of these factors are motors for elements of the narrative.
we as Poles know this part of history. Poland are under Russian partition, but we think that this is something new to a lot of people, because this is not such a popular historical topic, so it's worth to show it.
Additionally, the city itself is an interesting setting for the game, as Warsaw now is a completely alien city to what it was before World War II, as the city was leveled almost completely in 1944 and then rebuilt from scratch. So we, when reconstructing this for the purpose of the game, had to use a lot of sources from not something we could access physically, as in go and see the area, but we had to use photographs, we had to use postcards, descriptions, paintings, things like that.
Okay, that's really cool. Now, who do we play as? Who is the sort of player character, and what's their involvement in this?
We play as Wiktor Szulski. He was born and raised in Warsaw, but then he had to leave somewhere else for some time.
For a couple of years.
And now he's back in the city to attend to some family matters and to basically learn more about his past, his relatives' past.
Now, I want to know sort of, this is framed as like a morally ambiguous RPG, and obviously people hear, RPG, that can mean a lot of things. That can mean you hit the enemies and numbers fly off. It can also mean that your choices really matter and affect the world around you. Can you talk a little bit about sort of how the narrative branches out and how player decisions really affect the outcome without spoiling anything.
Okay, so I'm going to base my answer off of the demo. Upon the completion of this, or nearing the completion of the quest, once we have caught one of the wild salutors that are present in the world, we are confronted with the person who was sort of the host for this salutor to speak, this tormented man. We pretty much choose how Victor will respond to unraveling this man, because that's what happens in the demo. Will we make him confront his grief? Will we, taunt him and mock him for being lesser or weak? Or will we indulge in Victor's own flaw, which is pride? As the tagline goes, right? Everyone has their demons, including the protagonist.
Yeah, and also, well, there is this certain character, Abaurice, who's Victor's friend from the past, and when we say about the meaning of choices, Abaurice is a good example, because you can either make him a good friend of yours or an enemy later on. But that's all we can say at the moment.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Keep some secrets. It's good. Now let's talk about the combat a little bit, because the Salutors can help you fight. When I hear about sort of unique demons that you can bond with and have them help you in battle, I feel like it's a little like scary Pokemon. I feel like that maybe is not the best way to sell this, but tell me about how they come into play in combat.
Yeah, we've heard that a lot. Also, other influences named were Persona. People were seeing these elements in here, and for a good reason. How it works is that as we develop our character and different ways, the strength of each demon grows. So depending on how we develop Victor, each of them will become stronger. And basically how it works in the combat is we have an action queue, so Victor's abilities let him predict what's going to happen, and we have to adapt to that as players. So to facilitate that, we have enabled the player to change demons or salutors at will during combat, provided that they're not preoccupied with a certain executing a long attack, for instance, or something like that. We can change them on the fly. Each one has different set of different abilities. So one might be really good for dealing damage. Another one might be, giving Victor more sustain in combat by healing him. Things like this. So you really need to think about which of these you are going to, invest into.
Now, is combat sort of a necessary evil? Are there instances where you can sort of talk your way around it? Are there random encounters? I guess sort of how much combat is there in the world?
A lot, I'd say, but in some places you can actually choose during the dialogue. You can choose an option that would not lead to combat.
Of course,
so depends on the choices you make during the dialogue. So yeah, you can either finish it with a combat.
Of course, antagonizing every police officer or thug in the streets will not help you avoid it. But no, you are able to talk your way out of combat at certain points. As for random encounters, if you're talking about encounters as in RNG random encounters, no, there's no such thing as that in the game. So if Victor is the victim of an attempted mugging in an alleyway, that is not random. It ties into the narrative or the world we're trying to show, right?
Now, about this world, I am really curious, sort of the structure, level of exploration, general scale of it. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
And you have access to the majority of the city of Warsaw, or each of its districts. Of course, it's not one-to-one scale, as that would be, maybe possible to do, but I don't know if it would be very fun to go through a whole city like that. At different points in the narrative, depending on what Victor's needs are, he will have the ability to visit each of the city's districts that are of any interest to him.
Like open up, because
Yes.
the Warsaw won't be open from the beginning, so.
To a degree, the world will also react to what Victor does in it.
Color me intrigued. The Thaumaturge will be out later this year. We'll have lots more about this on IGN, plus plenty more games right here at Gamescom.
So here at Gamescom, there is a theater presentation for Starfield. Simon,
Yes.
let's just tell people what you saw.
God, we saw a lot. I feel like what we saw is maybe 15 to 20 minutes of the game, but kind of more, it seemed a longer mission condensed. There was a lot of fading in between scenes.
They sped it up.
They sped it up, and it looked like it was the first mission of the game. That's what it was. It was the intro of the game called One Small Step. Nice little nod to NASA there. But yeah, it was... Where do we start? You start as a miner, it looks like, so you're kind of in the depths. I think there was the moon of Vectera. I don't know if that means anything to anyone. I don't think that's a real place. Maybe it is. I'm not some sort of, I don't know everything about space, you know what I mean? But it started out with that classic Bethesda kind of throwing you into the world, close to people's faces.
Yeah.
You were kind of, felt like it was almost like your first day on the job sort of thing. And it had sort of that, already a couple of characters there that had that Bethesda mix of like authority and charm. There was a little bit of humor there already. They're just so good at that writing, I think, of like bringing a bit of humor, but also like emerging you into a world so quickly, just like throwing slang, like calling you a dusty. I don't know what a dusty is.
I thought they were just talking to me the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, well, that was my nickname growing up. My grandfather used to call me that. That works.
It probably was exactly that. This is a game where you roleplay as Destin Legaria in space.
Exactly.
So if that's your sort of thing, maybe Starfield is you. But
I was immersing myself.
Exactly. That was merely like the first 30 seconds of this. So you're kind of working your way through this mine. You've got this sort of like laser cutter thing. So you're kind of doing, kind of reminds you a little bit of No Man's Sky at the start. They're kind of just like, pushing a laser into some rocks to get some ore. I believe it was beryllium. I'm keeping all these things in mind. But then you can go deeper into this cave, and there's this weird sort of like glowing artifact thing that you touch.
And of course you touch it.
Of course you touch it. And it's like...
And nothing happens, and it's unremarkable.
Exactly, and the game ends.
No.
No, what happens is you kind of touch it. It looks like you're having these sort of almost like 2001 A Space Odyssey like visions. It's almost quite similar to, do you remember the opening of Mass Effect 1 where you touch the thing?
I thought of the same thing.
Yeah. So I don't know if they're playing on that deliberately, but it's a cool opening, and then you kind of you've obviously blacked out from that, and you wake up and you're straight into character creation, which they kind of blitz through. I reckon most people, I know I'm going to spend probably at least an hour on that, choosing all my different, I don't know how many moles I want, but also, my background, my traits.
Well, the background and traits are really important because there seem to be conflicting backgrounds and conflicting traits where you pick one, you can't pick the other one, etc.
Yeah, there must have been at least a dozen, maybe 2 dozen different backgrounds there. And it looks like whatever one you picked, you got a bit of reactive dialogue from the person you were creating the character with. So that was cool. So there's again, that kind of emerging you into this world straight away. You feel like a part. And then you get what I feel like is, the Bethesda step out moment that they like to put in all their games. In Fallout, you get a vault opening. In Skyrim, you get a big old dragon coming up ahead. This time, this sort of like medical facility, I guess you're in. The door opens and you find out you're on like the surface of this like beautiful looking moon, and the music, like barely seen any of this game, but I've been listening to this score for like at least a year now though. The music in this game is just stunning. What were your initial impressions of that step up moment? Because I think it's always more impressive maybe if we got to play it and the build up, but like it didn't quite hit me quite like, a vault opening necessarily.
So for me, I don't think that is actually intended to be their step-up moment, because there's a combat scenario that happens and you sort of learn how to fight the other mercenaries or whatever they're called. And then you get on your spaceship and you go to space.
Yes.
And I think that's the moment that they're targeting.
I think like Todd Howard previously mentioned, it's probably a couple of years ago now, that Starfield has multiple step-up moments. So maybe that's, one of them. Space is another one. Later, we'll maybe hint on what might be another one of those. But yeah, you mentioned these like pirates turn up, the Crimson Fleet, we've heard about them. They turn up because they're hunting basically this character you meet who's going to buy this artifact off you at this spaceport called Barrett. He's part of Constellation, who kind of seem this almost like mythical, like folklore group of explorers in this universe. Like they talk about half the workers in this mining facility not even believing they exist. So that's like an interesting I like that sort of like, almost like legendary aspect to it. And then you're encouraged after this fight to go to Constellation to join them and deliver this artifact, because they've been searching for these around the galaxy.
Yeah, and I really like how they teach you combat in that early section.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, well, I'll at least know how to deal with that. But for me, that space moment was it. That's where like it really piques my imagination, and I start thinking about the possibilities of future jumps that I'll be doing.
Yes.
What will the experiences be like when I find planets that I could land on? Because they have you go land on the next planet where you have to deliver the artifact, right?
Exactly.
And something really interesting happened in the menu. I don't know if you picked up on it, but it was like something like bad cargo not detected.
Yeah.
And I wonder if you have like something illegal, if that's going to
the space police are coming.
Are the space police coming? Like, what happens in that situation? Can you talk your way out of it? You're like, oh, my equipment's being weird.
There's so many possibilities. Like even going back to that initial like fight against like 5 or so pirates, the pick up a weapon objective was optional, so I don't know if there's a pacifist way of getting through that somehow. Like as you said, you go into space and you're instantly ambushed by these Crimson Fleet pirates again. I believe their ships are called Ghosts, I think, which is a cool name. And there's a little dogfight section. You don't really get from that how you do that, but it looked pretty solid. I'm a sucker for space combat. They're always my favorite part of Star Wars games is space combat. So if I'm doing a lot of that, I'm happy. And like you said, almost the third step out moment, it seems, will be arriving in New Atlantis, which is the city where Constellation seemed to call home. And we saw little glimpses of that city. They did like a fun little montage, like cool little coffee shops, some nice gardens, like massive skyscrapers. I don't know, they've said this city is huge. It looks huge. I don't know quite the scale here, but like we're gonna get lost in not only the universe, but just this one city, I think.
Oh yeah. I think that was the briefest part of the whole demo too. Like a lot seemed cut out, and then you're just delivering, you're going to the door and you meet that tribunal or whatever they're referred to as in the game. And we have a lot to talk about. Then it closes on that moment. I thought it would close when you jump to space or like at one of those jump out moments. Or
it just goes, they tease that sort of, it's almost like, I don't know if you're joining Constellation, you're just going to work with them. I don't know if they're even the like evil force in this game. Who knows? But like, that tease of like the adventure has begun. I just like kind of the aesthetic of the Constellation building. Like already we've seen like a sand-colored mine, space itself, like a dusty spaceport.
The palette is awesome.
Yeah, like the city is just like showing like a proper like sci-fi futuristic skyscrapers. But then the Constellation like seemed like their headquarters was like laid on with like dark wood and everything. It was just very nice. I'd like to live there. But I'd like to live in a lot of games. I prefer to live in Starfield at the moment than I would anywhere in Fallout. Let's put it that way.
Right, I mean, goes without saying, really. Overall impressions, do you like this presentation? I think it was really smart to do it in this big fancy theater where the bass is like punching you in the gut throughout.
Like I said, that music, hearing it with that, I just know when I'm at home now, I'm never going to hear it quite like that, which is a little bit sad. But I liked that it was quite obviously the opening game, but it was smart to show, like, you can already see you get so much variety in this opening mission. You get exploration, like navigating conversations, ground combat, space, like exploration of a city. Like, I don't know. It's just, this game seems like a lot. And I've been waiting for so long, like, for this game. And so far, doesn't look like it's going to let me down.
I'm excited to learn more. And those are just the building blocks of what you can experience later on.
It looks ridiculous.
So, Simon, thank you so much for telling us a little bit about what we saw behind closed doors. And thank you so much for joining us. Let us know if you're hyped for Starfield in the comments below. And for more on all things gaming, keep it right here at IGN.
Oh, hey there. Later this year, the League of Legends universe gets a little bigger in an all-new single-player adventure. Here to tell us all about Song of Nunu, a League of Legends story, please welcome Rowan Parker from Riot Forge and Raul Rubio Renares from Tequila Works. Hi.
Hi, Brian.
Thank you so much for coming.
No, thanks for having us.
This game looks absolutely beautiful. We're going to start looking at it in a second because it's the kind of game that you just want to look at. It is a third-person kind of action-adventure platformer with two very lovely characters that I just can't get enough of. So right here we've got some brand new footage that no one's ever seen before, which I just so geeked out about. So tell me a bit about this game.
Well, I would say that Song of Nunu is the ultimate road trip, in the sense that you have two friends, the best friends forever. They are having the journey of their lives. One is a little kid, Nunu, of the Notai, and the other happens to be, the last magical Yeti.
An ancient four-armed Yeti.
Yes.
It's his best friend.
But
we all have friends like that.
I wish.
Of course, we all do.
He's very huggable. He's friend-shaped.
He looks extremely huggable. You are making life-size plushies, right?
Not only that, we have a button to hack the Yeti. You can hack.
Of course.
In the
of course,
in the
you
game.
have to. So tell me a bit about. First of all, I want to say. beautiful, beautiful game. I wanted to know a little bit about the kind of classic 3D platformer inspirations here, because personally, I can't see a character sliding down an ice slide without thinking Mario 64. It's the first, like I just think about buying an N64 on day one, getting to the snow level and sliding down. So is there any like kind of ancient 3D platformer DNA in this game?
Well, I would say that, again, if you pay attention to the games that we have made as Tequila Works, they tend to be narrative-driven, single-player action adventures.
Yeah.
But all of them are kinda emotional and deep, right? In this game, everything is up to, well, Nunu himself. I mean, it's not just he's a cute little boy. He's a very pure heart. He's innocent, right? So we wanted to transmit that with the game. This game is a very chill experience, actually. I mean, we want you to explore the Freyr. Usually the Freyr is depicted as this super harsh and unforgiving, well, northern region in Runeterra that is full of dangers. It is, by the way, yeah.
Right.
But again, for Nunu, it's just an opportunity for adventures, right? And having fun with his friend. And that's how we start the story. Again, even if this region is full of civil war and ancient evils and whatnot, for Nunu, it's just, well, he's looking for his mom. It's a very small story, right? And basically his view of the world is influencing everything that is happening around him, starting by Willem himself, right?
Yeah.
Because he's a very old, grumpy, wise Yeti. But when he's next to Nunu, he's very playful and he's, well, huggable. I agree.
I mean, to Brian's original point, comparing to say like a Mario 64, I'd say we are much more narrative driven. We spend a lot of time, crafting, this bespoke, narrative story, which is woven into gameplay. So it's definitely a lot more narrative heavy.
So it's not just like, hey, I baked you a cake, come to the castle. There's a whole story.
I mean, that's still like, I like cake.
Okay, of course. No disrespect to cake.
It would be a frozen cake.
Yeah. But I think
frozen cake is called ice cream.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
They make
ice
an
cream
ice.
cake.
I'm going to blow your mind, Brian. They make an ice cream cake.
No.
Yeah.
Wait.
They don't let me out of here enough to find that kind of stuff out.
Really?
I think. I think something players are starting to come to expect from Forge games is that they come for the gameplay and are pleasantly surprised to find there is chops on the stories that we have.
Right.
We really do lean heavily into this, compelling storytelling in all of our games. And I think Song of Nunu, I'm particularly excited because it's one of the more tugging at heartstrings stories we've tried to do yet. Like Raul said, it's a more chill, pun intended, experience than our previous stuff, but it is definitely going to punch hard on the story, with the characters that we have.
I appreciate that. I mean, League of Legends is this like hardcore multiplayer game, and it's
absolutely.
depth and detail oriented. It's complicated, and then you have something here that you're describing as like a chill single player game, and they both exist in the same world. There's two sides of a coin. It's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's what attracted us in the first place as Tequila Works, right? Because again, we can make people cry with our games.
Yeah.
Sometimes for the good reasons, but for the right
it's
ones.
The good crying.
But,
it's
a good
happy cry.
It's a happy cry.
But it was like, well, you have this super rich, deep universe, right? With and these mighty champions, but because of the nature of, it's a PvP MOBA, right? So
League of Legends.
You cannot spend a lot of time in exposition.
Yeah.
Because, but this is an opportunity to see these characters from a new angle and show their humanity. And again, it's not a coincidence that we chose Nunu and Willem, but again, for us, these were the characters that are way more interesting for us because it's not we want to make people cry, and it's easier when you have a Yeti.
Yeah.
Is more like, to be honest, we care about the wrinkles, and I mean, again, League of Legends is full of champions, but for us it was not a matter of how epic or mighty or strong you are. It was more like about this bonding, right? And in Nunu and Willem, we see this. It's not just friendship; it's even family.
Yeah. And I mean, some of the stuff you showed off is that Willem will get a little annoyed in a funny kind of way, chuck a snowball and stuff like that.
You can expect a lot of snowballs. Yeah.
There's a lot of work that we put a lot of work into the believability of Willump as a companion. I think Tequila Works have a fantastic pedigree of companion characters in their games.
Right.
If you've played Rime, if you've played the other games they've made, I think Willump is like as an execution of a warm, fuzzy friendly character that's with you. And our goals of we don't want him to be annoying when he's on screen. You don't want him to get in the way of gameplay. There's a lot of
the quality bar.
He couldn't
make
possibly.
him annoying.
No,
there's a lot of complexity that goes into.
Imagine it.
But even then, it was just again not annoying. Okay, great.
Right.
But at the same time, it's not an extension of the player. I mean, it's supposed to be your friend.
Right.
And friends care for you. They usually say that good friends know all your stories, and that's great. But the best friends, they made the stories with you, and that's Willem.
Oh, that's beautiful. Put that on the back of the box.
Oh, thank you. You can use it. Yeah.
So
we are going to make Max with it.
We've seen a lot of snow areas, right? This is like very much Arctic themed game, right? Will we get to see some other stuff throughout the game? Like, tell me a little bit about like the kind of diversity of the environments a little bit, without spoiling too much, obviously.
Yeah, I think when you think of the flare, everything is thinking of ice and snow.
Yeah,
you can see a lot here. But again, showing this is an unknown region in Northern Freyr. So you are going to see different biomes. I mean, a lot of variety in how diverse the Freyr really is.
We also bring to life some of these areas that I think players have been seeing in League of Legends art for a long time. Being able to actually go to the Frostguard Citadel,
so cool.
Being able to actually see the Avarosan Plains and some of the parts of the world. But to Raul's...
Can I mention a few?
Oh yeah, please go.
The Howling Abyss.
I forgot.
You're going to be there. Yeah,
if you play Aram, then you know what the Howling Abyss is.
Yeah. That's awesome. Guys, Song of Nunu looks amazing. I cannot wait to play it. Thank you so much. Song of Nunu, a League of Legends story, will be coming to consoles and PC later this year. But right now, there's more Gamescom Studio live on IGN, where we will learn about all kinds of things like ice cream cake. Who knew? Yeah. Thank you so much. Keep watching and stick around.
As a rogue trader, your endowed authority allows you to recruit crew members from almost any echelon of the Imperium. Let's take a look at your options. Avalar Versarion, the seneschal of your dynasty. A wise advisor. He has endured many battlefield encounters and is capable of returning blows on the enemies of House von Valancius tenfold. Idira Talas, unsanctioned psyker. She is a powerful, albeit unpredictable diviner, whose psychic powers can greatly amplify your party's offensive and defensive capabilities. Pascal Haneman, Magos Explorator. Utility is his name. Buffs and debuffs galore, but he is not helpless on his own either, and powerful weaponry is very much his game. Cassia Orselio, Navigator. With her mutant navigator powers, she can provide crucial aid to your party and unleash the power of her third eye to bring forth utter destruction. Heinrichs van Kalox, Ordo Xenos Interrogator. A sanctioned psyker and combat veteran, he prefers to confront his enemies head-on, shielding and empowering himself with the help of his abilities. Jai Hidari, Cold Trader. Her experience and leadership is unmatched. Under her direction, even the weakest member of your party will become a serious threat. Sister Argenta of the Adepta Sororitas. A ranged damage dealer with unparalleled mobility. Add acts of faith, and she can turn a fight around even in the most desperate circumstances. Ulfur, Space Marine Battle Brother. Though he excels in all forms of warfare, his Pharisian nature beckons him into close combat, where he can stare into the eyes of his dying prey. And Iliad Lanavis, an Aldari Ranger. Her ranged combat abilities are second to none. Wielding her superior long rifle, she can eliminate foes from extreme distances. There will be a very diverse roster of companions available, offering countless possibilities in both gameplay and the narrative. Start thinking now about the kind of crew you will assemble. Will you be a staunch follower of the Imperial Creed, or risk more dangerous associations?
Behind every game, movie, and TV show you love is a wild, crazy, and sometimes unbelievable story.
No one is just black and white.
From revealing the secrets behind your favorite franchises to solving a legendary video game mystery, I'm coming for you. IGN Inside Stories gives you a peek behind the curtain.
If people come to the game now and see what's going on there, I think they'll be surprised.
Join us as we dive into hyper-dedicated fan bases, worldwide phenomenons, and the most incredible untold tales in games and entertainment.
I said, wait a minute, that doesn't sound so good.
It was definitely not what I expected in the best way.
Inside Stories, available now only on IGN.
And I was like, holy shit, we're gonna do this.
IGN Playlist is the best way to track your game collection. Now you can even import your entire Steam library to Playlist, making it easier than ever to review games, show off your collection to the world, and finally chip away at that massive backlog you keep meaning to get to. IGN Playlist, check it out.
Watching Gamescom Studio powered by IGN, and if you're just now joining us, you're in for a time with a chat with Xbox's head honcho, Phil Spencer, which is coming up next.
Shortly after that, we will be sticking our nose into Lies of P's business, and then after that, we will be shooting the breeze about where wins meet.
Oh, I like that. That was good. No convention is complete without cosplay, and Gamescom is no exception. Every year, the Gamescom Cosplay Village fills with costumed characters from all over the multiverse.
If you can't make it there in person, join us on Sunday for the Gamescom Cosplay Contest powered by Mini, where we will be showcasing some of the most impressive outfits and handing out some awards to the real standouts.
Gamescom is a great time, and it's also involved with some great causes. Gamescom Cares is a platform where Gamescom, its exhibitors, and partners can present social responsibility projects, events, and campaigns addressing important causes like diversity, education, climate and environmental protection, and aid for people in need.
It's awesome. Last year, over 265,000 people attended Gamescom, and this year it's shaping up to be just as massive, if not even more so. Really, though, describing it doesn't quite do it justice. So here's what it looks like when the doors first open on day one. Check it out.
Last year I came to Gamescom and I learned a new German word, Nierenstein. That's the German word for pain. Actually, more accurately, that's the German word for kidney stone. I spent all of last Gamescom in the hospital. This year it's gonna be different. I am gonna see everything. I mean, everything there is to see at Gamescom. As you can see, everyone is really excited. I am one of them. There's a giant robot right behind you right now. Let's get out on the floor, let's go! E3, Comic-Con, if you think those are the biggest gatherings in entertainment and gaming, think again, because you're wrong. In 2019, Gamescom hosted almost 400,000 gaming fanatics. That's 400,000. That's more than twice the attendance of Comic-Con and 400,000 more than E3 2023. This year is looking to be one of the biggest showings yet. What are you excited to see when you're here?
I'm excited to see the Jinx cosplayers.
Nice, so is League of Legends your favorite game?
I wouldn't say that's my favorite game, that's my mental illness.
So what are you excited to see when you're here?
I'm excited for Tekken 8 because Tekken was like a childhood game for me.
This place is massive, it's unbelievably huge. It's as large as 50 American football fields. For you Europeans, that's 32 soccer pitches. Oops, I mean football pitches. But yeah, I am actually completely lost. Entschuldigung. This year, over 1,200 exhibitors are planted across 8 massive halls. Seriously, these are gigantic. Each one has its own theme featuring endless rows of elaborate booths showcasing the latest video games, tournaments, cosplay, and of course, merch. This place is gigantic, and there are a million things to do. There's a sick retro area where they have stuff from like every era of video gaming. There's an awesome indie area. There's merch everywhere. In fact, there's a giant merch area. There's a million things to see, a million things to do, and Nintendo is over here. I'm about to meet gaming legends Mario and Luigi, probably the best known faces in video gaming today, maybe of all time, and I'm about to get on stage with them. Yeah! Yes! Yes! Dankeschön, Mario. Dankeschön, Luigi. Tschüss. We're at Family and Friends, powered by LEGO. There's all kinds of crossover LEGOs here, which is kind of the perfect place to be for that. So we've got video game, we've got Sonic LEGO. On the other side, we've got Minecraft LEGO, and people are just like pilfering through piles of green LEGO bricks. I think they're trying to either find diamonds or just get resources to build their first home. On the other side of that, of course, we have the classic Super Mario LEGO. So yeah, best of both worlds at the Family and Friend Powered by LEGO section here at Gamescom. Out here on the floor, I found the LEGO versions of two absolute legends. Hey, how you doing? Oh, awesome. What brings you to Gamescom? Where are you guys coming from? Italy. Wow, Italia. Thanks, guys. Cheers. Oh, I see. No, I don't. You know this is the best-selling home computer of all time, right? Do you know people are still developing games for the Commodore 64? Oh my God, look at all of this. Of course, it's the most popular one. That's the full setup. He's got the joystick, he's got the actual Commodore 64 and the Commodore 1084 monitor. I have a Commodore VIC-20 at my house, which is the predecessor to the Commodore 64. Unfortunately, the VIC chip, which is the hardest one to get, is bad. So I don't actually have a Commodore VIC-20. I have a Commodore piece of plastic and metal. Okay, so these are Atari home computers. A lot of people don't know that Atari made home computers, but they did. They're most famous probably for like the Atari 2600, which unfortunately was the game console that was at its peak when the entire video game industry collapsed. But they also put 8-bit home computers. The 800 was like the most powerful one that, you know, a normal person would probably have. You have an 800 XL. You have a 600 XL, which I didn't even know about. So I'm learning something here already, and I like that a lot. Yeah, like just look at these chunky, clicky keys. Like you think your mechanical keyboard is cool? It's not. Donkey Kong running on an Atari 130 XE on a green phosphor screen. The best kind of phosphor screen. No, I take that back. The second best kind, amber phosphor, is the best kind. Yeah, and that's an Atari original, beautiful, old piece of hardware that I love. I'm already overwhelmed by how, whoa, okay, this is something that we never had in the States, but every sort of British person my age fondly remembers the Speccy ZX by Sinclair. A version did come to the States, branded as Timex, which make watches. I don't know why, but yeah, Sinclair ZX Spectrum, the Speccy. And again, everybody my age from the UK loves and remembers their Speccy, talks about it so fondly. So let's go. First of all, we have a giant Sony Trinitron, one of the best CRTs ever. These are becoming increasingly expensive because they're becoming increasingly rare because nobody's making them anymore. And aside from that, everybody who knows what a good TV is buying them now. But he's playing Virtua Fighter on the Sega Saturn, which is a console I briefly owned about 5 years ago because I never had played it before. I had to have one. I imported one from Japan, played it once, and then I sold it. And this is the most important hall of them all, Hall H. Do you want to know why? Because it's where our live studio is located. This is where we're going to be covering Gamescom all week long, including our tremendously enormous awards show where we're showing off the best of Gamescom. Also, I'm going to be on that stage and I'm going to be throwing prizes to you, the fans. So make sure you're here for everything else. I should probably get going because I've been exploring Gamescom for 2 days. I actually haven't gotten any work done, and I think people are starting to get a little frustrated. So, bye.
Xbox has their biggest booth ever at Gamescom this year, and we're thrilled to have Phil Spencer with us to talk about some of their exciting partnerships and to answer some of the tough questions fans have been curious about. Ladies and gentlemen, Phil Spencer right here with me. How are you doing?
Awesome. I'm looking at all the people. This is such a cool setup because all the people on the Gamescom floor are right there. It's cool. I appreciate you guys having a booth here on the floor. It's awesome.
So we're going to talk hardware services and such, but you just had this big announcement about some sort of CMA issue where you're partnering with Ubisoft. What does that mean for video games? Like if the Activision deal closes, can you just explain it to me? Because I don't get it.
Fundamentally, we are trying to bring more games to more people, and we think doing the deal with Ubisoft, which frees up one of the concerns at the CMA, which is the UK regulatory board where acquisitions get handled, will allow more games to go to more people. We've always thought we would do that as well, but Ubisoft's a good partner. We know them. They're independent from us, so we say any kind of concerns that we may dictate where the games go, hopefully is alleviated now, and allow us to continue to move forward in what we're working on with the deal. We still have work to do there, but we think it's a good step, bring more games to more people, which has been what this is about.
So if I want to play, is it just cloud streaming, or will it have an impact on Game Pass?
It is the rights that will go to Ubisoft when the deal closes are the cloud streaming rights for ABK games.
So Call of Duty, I can still boot that up on Game Pass potentially once the deal closes.
Yeah, on ABK, I'm going to a different answer now just because of the way you asked that. I want to make sure people know that there's work to actually move games to Game Pass. So for people who think like the deal's going to close
October 18th,
then everything's available to Game Pass. That's not true. Like so, and it hasn't been true in other acquisitions that we've done. Like there's work for us to go do, just mechanical work for us to go do. So it will take us time, definitely time, to get the games in portfolio. But this has nothing to do with making native games available in Game Pass. This is all about the Ubisoft relationship, is all about the cloud streaming rights for ABK games.
Well, that
ABK being Activision Blizzard King. It's really Activision and Blizzard since they have the kind of pay-to-play games.
That makes me feel a lot better. Thanks, CMA, for making it super confusing. But anyway.
But let me say, it's in addition to other deals that we've done, right? Like GeForce and Boosteroid, Ubitus, other deals. I think there's like some GeForce announcements going out now about our PC games starting to hit there. So if you're a GeForce Now subscriber and you're a Game Pass subscriber, you're starting to be able to stream the PC versions of those games, which I think is an awesome part of this as well. Getting more games to more people has been what this is about. Not taking games away from PlayStation. I know there's like, that's not what it is. We look at the success of Xbox as how many people are playing Xbox games, and that's important to us.
Yeah, I mean, if you took them off PlayStation, you would literally lose money.
That we would.
Doesn't
it's never been in the plan. I mean, I've had to wear a suit and tie. People have like seen all that stuff.
You look
We're not
very,
there anymore.
You look very fancy. Let's talk Xbox Series X. So the console's 3 years old. Where are we at with the timeline of the console? Are we at the beginning? Are we in the middle?
I think we're kind of at the end of the beginning, like if that makes any sense. Okay. I think the kind of supply issues early on lengthened the beginning to some extent, both on cost as well as just availability. I think from a game dev standpoint, not just us, but third parties, you're really just now starting to see the swell of games that got slowed up through COVID production now starting to launch. I think we have like 85 games launching like in the industry between now and like tomorrow, right? It seems like there's so many games coming right now that we're starting to get through the beginning of this generation and hopefully into a place where as an owner of a console, you've got games that are taking full advantage of the hardware and are great games for people to go play. And I look at the lineup over the rest of this year from third parties alone, and it's fantastic.
What's next for gaming hardware? Like, are better graphics still enough to differentiate?
I think better graphics, more realistic feel will always be important. I also love that different form factors are coming out. I thought what Valve did with the Steam Deck was awesome. I'm traveling with my ROG Ally when I'm here, having a great time playing games. I feel like it's a remote Xbox for me, right? I log in, my community's there, my games are there. All devs should support cross-save, so that's to you, Remnant 2 team. I'm playing a ton of Remnant 2, but I can't move to PC. But I just love the fact that I'm able to take my save games where I go and play. So I love that hardware is becoming more diverse, both in price point and in form factor and usability, so that more people are playing.
Do you have any news about some sort of mid-generation refresh for Xbox?
No. We're right now the increased storage on the Series S. The black one, yeah. That's what we actually call it, is the black.
Looks awesome.
Yeah, it does. It looks great. But no, like I said, we're kind of at the end of the beginning in my mind. So I think we need to let devs settle on this hardware and get the most out of it. But in terms of increased frame rate, increased resolution, I just look at what goes on PC with high-end GPUs, high-end CPUs. And it's not always just about pixel count or frame resolution. I think there's lighting techniques. There's a bunch of things that go into what makes a game look and feel great. And we have a ton of headroom as an industry there.
The Baldur's Gate 3 team brought up some issues with Xbox Series S and split screen getting it to work properly. I know the Forts team announced that it won't launch with split screen, I believe.
Local split screen, split screen, yeah.
Local split screen. So
or even online split screen, yeah.
Is there some future where you allow developers just to launch on the Series X versus S? Because there's the parity clause right now, and I'm curious, will that ever be loosened up a bit?
I want to decouple these issues a little bit.
Yeah.
The decision to do split screen or not is a creative decision, a dev decision. So if we think about like Forza, it has nothing to do with any kind of hardware thing on S and X, just where they wanted to focus their time. We obviously see the data in terms of how many people play local co-op for games. I love local co-op. Shout out to Vampire Survivors that just launched it. Fantastic. But there's also just let's go where the play is in terms of where we're going to focus our dev resources. In terms of the two platforms, I want games to launch on both platforms. There are feature differences between the platforms. We have an ability to kind of handle that and how it works. Where teams are going to choose to focus their time and their effort is up to them. We're here to support them and what they want to go do. We want to make sure that games, when they're launching on competitive platforms, are also launching on Xbox. So we're going to learn from this experience as well, because we don't love that. But I don't think it's something that's like a fatal flaw in the system. It's partners prioritizing their time, us listening and being a good partner to them. And you see some amazing games doing great work across S and X. Diablo looks great, Starfield looks great, Forza looks great across both. And we think, I want to make sure console gaming is accessible to more people, and we think the price point of the console is a pretty important part of that.
Yeah, I love the Series S, but there's been that conversation going around, so I wanted to ask you about it.
Yeah, no, I think it's a fair question. I will say that I think some of the discussion in the community has maybe not come from us or the devs. It's been more the community building, well, this happened, and then that happened, and then so it must be about this. And I think we can do more to add clarity to actually where we are, and I look forward to doing that.
So you threw like 300 devs out to Larian to help them get Baldur's Gate on Xbox?
It wasn't 300, but absolutely.
400, wow.
No, it's a great game. They're an important partner. I'm meeting with them here at Gamescom. Like it's a game I want to see on the platform, and we have resources that helped in terms of making sure it's going to sit. I think they've said it's going to ship by the end of the year. I think that's their words.
Yeah.
In terms of what they've said. But like we should together come up with clarity to set some expectations for Xbox fans, and I look forward to doing that.
Okay. I just really like that game, so I'm hoping I can play it on my console soon.
I do too. Yeah. Hopefully with cross save, so I can play my PC and my Xbox version back and forth.
Yeah, got it. So, what else do we have? Game Pass does seem to be a bit of a tough sell for a lot of executives, I guess you call them. Kotick was one of those people that testified to it being a tough sell for him to bring Call of Duty to Game Pass. After closing, how are you going to breach that sort of ideological difference between you both?
Well, there's a different person making the decisions. That's one thing. On Game Pass, it's not necessarily true that every game looks at Game Pass and says that's the opportunity for me. Like if you're a massively successful AAA franchise that has double-digit million marketing budget to go drive awareness and discovery of your game day one, and that's part of your model, I totally understand why you wouldn't window your game day one into a subscription. I got no issue with that. Like we do it as a first party for this because we're trying to grow the subscription and we're looking at the overall health of the subscription as an outcome. We love that. We see it grow on console, more growth on PC definitely now, which has been awesome, especially sitting here in Germany. We think about all the PC players here. But so I just got out actually of a roundtable with a bunch of indie develop leads, studio heads, and the subscription helps them. It helps them in terms of dev funding, certainty in what they can go build. Every game that's in Game Pass is available for sale, so we're not trying to turn the world into a subscription-only world, I promise. That's not our plan. And we think it's a great model for certain teams, and for other teams that decide it's not the right model for them ever or right now, that's also totally cool as well.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, I'm being told we're out of time.
Uh-oh.
I have a lot more great questions for you, but they'll have to wait. Thank you, Phil Spencer from Xbox, so much for joining us. We got to go. Coming up next, more video game news right here at Gamescom with IGN. Bye, everybody.
Hey, you. Yes, you. Do you have FOMC? Fear of missing Gamescom? Relax. Gamescom is everywhere you want. Gamescom now. Register now.
Tune into IGN 1 on your smart TVs for the latest news on your favorite releases, gameplay exclusives, and all the entertainment you can handle.
Cinefix on IGN 1, your friendly Friday night home for film fanaticism.
You're watching The Weekly Fix, ready to fill you in on anything you may have missed in the world of gaming and entertainment.
Welcome to Should I Play This? This is what to watch here on IGN 1.
Find it all in one place for free on IGN 1.
They turned into a network. Who knew?
The Cinefix Top 100. A list so secretive even we don't know what movies are on it or where they rank.
What do you mean you don't know?
Each episode will reveal one of the movies.
Did I rush it? Felt like I rushed. That was good. I liked it.
Talk about why it belongs and finally find out where it ranks.
Are you not entertained?
Are any of the movies we've shown here even on the list? I have no idea, and it drives me crazy. Join us as we find out on the Cinefix Top 100, Mondays starting July 3rd.
Why so serious?
Gamescom. I am Seth Macy with IGN. I am joined by Matt Perslow.
Hello.
We are here to talk about where wins meet. Matt, what is where wins meet? And that's a hard sentence to say, by the way.
It is what seems like giant Chinese mythology-based kind of open world RPG. I guess the easiest way is it's got a little bit of that Ghost of Tsushima about it.
Ooh.
But
I'm listening.
It is massive.
Yeah.
And so we only got about half an hour to play it, maybe 40 minutes. And I don't even know where to begin with this game. There is so much.
You gotta begin somewhere. We only have so much time.
So there's pretty good combat. What I will say, like that's what we saw. There's it starts on a horse. We're on a horse firing arrows, leaping off the side of the horse, doing QTEs to bat people off the side. Very, very cool. Into a boss fight. not very Soulsy, I will say. It's got, you're going to have to parry, you're going to have to block.
So it's action, or it's not turn-based, it's action
No,
RPG.
yeah, it's action RPG. You've got like the stamina and you've got the health bar and you've got kind of a lot of like the parry and riposte system. I wouldn't say it was anywhere near as difficult as a Souls, so I think if you're worried about that, I wouldn't worry about it. Much closer to the sort of combat that you had in Ghost of Tsushima.
Okay.
A lot of that kind of like steel on steel kind of effect, which is good. But then after that boss fight, we got thrown into an open world and it was pretty much do what you want. So I'm wondering if there's a little bit of kind of the Zelda about it. I wonder if it's sort of like free form, go and do what you want. What I did there was not what I was expecting. I thought this would be a fairly full-on kind of combat game. I was finding weird statues that had riddles on them, and I was turning statues around to get prizes.
Nice.
I was
man.
Going into villages and dealing with pickpockets and chasing a goose around a village.
Realistic goose chasing.
Yeah. I was, there's flights in this game apparently, all sorts of very wushu style, like jumping around. I went into a village full of statues and we're throwing little rocks at them and turning them back into humans. It's wild. There's a very, very vast kind of like power system that you, I guess, assign to a lot of the face buttons. I had very little time to work out how it all works. What I can tell you is that one of the abilities is summoning in a goat to have the goat charge through and hit things.
Yes!
It is, like, I was assuming it was going to be quite serious, but it's not. It is full on like those kind of like wushu films with all of the leaping around, like cutting arrows in half. It's got a lot of that vibe going on.
Wow, it sounds like you're describing like 8 different games.
Yeah, it really felt very over. I'm slightly worried it might be a bit overscoped, that there might be a bit too much, but I'll hold judgment on that until we've actually got the final thing, which does feel that it's probably going to be quite far away. I don't think it's coming out anytime soon.
All right, cool. Did you have like a pre-rolled character? Are you able to make your own character?
So,
how does that work?
So after the tutorial, it kind of put you into a part where you were playing like the uncle of this little boy, or well, androgynous sort of character, which then it turns out that's who you are. Okay. And you then get to choose whether they're male or female. It then goes into one of the most in-depth character creators I've ever seen in my life.
How so? Like, what makes it so crazy?
To the point where you can change the depth and size of the bit that goes in between your nostrils.
The filtus.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what it's really called.
But so much, like many different hairstyles, but also you could change each individual cheekbone, forehead, the way that the eyebrows are kind of tilted, literally everything. I think if you remember like the Black Desert Online character creator, which kind of went viral a few years ago, it was almost felt like that times 2.
So you could just make whoever you want, basically.
Pretty much,
game.
yeah.
Oh, wow, that is.
It was very wild. So kind of much more of a RPG than I thought, because then you go into the stats section. And I assumed that if there were going to be stats in this would be rolled a bit like the Dark Souls, kind of like strength, dexterity,
like,
endurance.
Yeah, basic RPG sort of stuff.
Yeah, no, like charisma and
gotta have charisma.
And sight. So I get the impression there's a lot more of the kind of like the traditional more D&D side of a thing where we're going to be chatting with characters. There's going to be the importance of how you interact with characters as well as interact with your swords.
Right. Okay. Cool.
So yeah, I sort of went in assuming that it was one thing and came out. I sort of don't have a clue what it actually is. There's so much of it.
So you have more questions after playing it.
Yeah.
How long did you get to play?
For about half an hour to 40 minutes. And
you did all of those things?
And there were bosses to fight. There were kind of like little encampments where there was obviously loads of enemies to scrap with. I really don't know where the game starts and ends at this point. Like, I wish that it was a more curated demo rather than a Gamescom throw you in. But what I can say is there's a lot here, and it'll be really interesting over the next, whether it's months or even years before this game comes out. It'll be interesting to see how all of that develops.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. You got me hyped on it. You can summon goats and chase gooses. I mean, why not? But we are at Gamescom. It is crazy. We're seeing all sorts of games. Make sure to keep it right here at IGN for the best of Gamescom.
Marvel Snap is one of the most hopelessly addictive things you can legally keep in your pocket, and somehow keeps getting better and better. Here to tell me all about what could possibly be coming next to Marvel Snap is Chief Development Officer Ben Brody. Welcome.
What up?
Hey.
Hello.
Everything's up. You got some big news. You just launched finally onto Steam.
That's right. Yeah, just like a couple days ago.
Yeah. So tell us about that. What was that? I know you wanted. It was important to you to get it on Steam in widescreen mode.
Yes. So the game launched late last year,
right,
on mobile, and it's been incredible so far. We won Mobile Game of the Year at the Video Game Awards, a bunch of awards. And you know, it's just you never know when you're working on a game like how it's going to go, and to have it come out and have people be really excited about it is really phenomenal. But you know, a lot of my heritage is on PC and studio. I mean, we love PC. It's just like, you know, where we all came from, and so now to like finally get it back on PC, it looks so good widescreen, and it's just so much fun to make the full circle.
Are there any extra flourishes in the PC version?
I mean, we just like rebuilt the whole thing from the ground up to take advantage of, you know, the widescreen display. The collection manager has a whole new UI. It feels fantastic. And yeah, you could see now, you know, it's like somebody like widened the frame and you could see all of the art you couldn't see before. So you see so much more of the board. It's beautiful. It looks fantastic.
You mentioned you launched last year, coming up on a year now. How do you reflect on how everything's gone with Marvel Snap so far?
It's been really fun to work on this game. You know, it's not every game that like we make in the games industry is like so much fun, you know? But when you work on a game that is so much fun, on a live service game, you get to like play the game at night just because you love playing the game, and then you get to come to work in the morning and make it better, and it's like this unbelievably satisfying loop of playing the game, finding something, you're like, oh, I can make that better, and then going back to work the next day and just like making it better, than hearing from players just how much better the game is as we've gone through it. So, you know, over the last, you know, bunch of months, we've been experimenting, we've been trying new things, we've been launching new features and new cards and learning, and we're just getting better and better as a team, and we keep making the game better.
So you regularly play Marvel Snap?
Of course.
I mean, I don't think every developer plays their own game, do they? After it's out? I don't know.
I mean, come on, it's so good.
It is so good. I agree. I play every day. So do you get ideas while you play the game? Like think,
yeah,
this would be fun to add.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, you know, a lot of the time I'm just like zoning out and having a good time. But every once in a while, I mean, a lot of it comes from frustration. I'm like, this card is BS. Like, we got to do something
we gotta
about
nerf
this
one.
Yeah. But you know, also like, yeah, certain things that I'm like, oh, I really would like to try to make this deck happen. It's not really coming together. We could make another card to like really make this deck sing, and then we kind of think about it. Yeah.
So you've got the mobile and the PC version now.
Yeah.
Will both of the are they on the same track? Will they be getting updates and support at the same time?
Oh yeah. It's the same. It's the same game. You can play. It's cross-play. It's just all. You just get to choose how you want to experience Marvel Snap.
Interesting. So now that you have the widescreen version, could we perhaps see Marvel Snap arrive to other platforms, maybe console at some point in the future?
I mean, maybe. I don't. You know, it's. We're excited about bringing Marvel Snap where people want to play it. So. Yeah, it's something we could certainly consider. It was an enormous amount of work rebuilding this thing to work great on PC. So I'm gonna sit and bask in that for a little bit.
Yeah, take some time off. Any new modes that you're working on behind the scenes? I know you don't need to like reveal them right now, but like, are there actively?
Certainly, yeah. I mean, yeah, okay. We have a lot of stuff we're working on, actually, and we post our development roadmap just for everyone to come look at and, I don't know, roast us about or give us feedback about it, maybe is what I would say.
Constructive criticism.
Yes, certainly. Yeah. It's actually really valuable for us, right? It's, you know, once you ship a game, you're not the developers really anymore. It's a collaboration between the people working on the game every day for their job and the community who's playing it and has like really important feedback on how we can continue to make the game better. So we post our roadmaps, and we've been like, you know, churning through a bunch of our promised features and quality of life upgrades and stuff, and we just posted a bunch of other stuff on there. So if you're curious about what's coming soon to Marvel Snap, that's like a whole list you can just go look at online.
Got it. Do you have a favorite deck at the moment?
Yes. Well, we just nerfed one of my favorite decks, so I'm in mourning a little bit. But the new deck I'm playing right now is a Silver Surfer deck. Silver Surfer gives all of your 3-cost cards a big bonus, so I'm playing like a lot of 3-cost cards. Brood is a 3-cost card that summons more copies of itself. Right. You know, it's like an alien brood, and so it gets a lot of extra bonus for comboing with Silver Surfer. It's so fun.
Is the plan to, is it going to focus on supporting Marvel Snap for the future, or are there other games that you have in the pipeline?
Right now we're like full speed ahead on Marvel Snap. We're like at the beginning of the Marvel Snap journey right now. You know, these kinds of games, they last for like decades, you know, like, you know, or maybe longer. I don't know. Like, there's so much fun for such a long time that, you know, supporting it is both like an incredible joy and passion for us, but also yeah, I mean, it's just we're gonna go for a really long time. There are so many Marvel characters.
I know.
There's like 8,000 Marvel.
Yes.
And then keep adding more because it's a living thing. And so we're gonna.
I mean, that must be nice to make a game that someone else is just creating content for you.
Yeah, they're just like, hey, we made this like enormously amazing movie that everybody loves, and we're like, taking notes, like, we're gonna add that. It's really fun.
Awesome. Well, congrats on all the success. I play Marvel Snap every day, so love the game.
Thanks. Me too.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. Marvel Snap is available right now. You have no excuse not to jump in and start playing immediately. We've got tons more ahead here on Gamescom Studios, so don't go anywhere.
Be there. Be strong. Be fierce. Be better. Be different. Be winning. Be epic. Be you at Gamescom 23. Come and be everything at Gamescom 2023.
The Cinefix Top 100. A list so secretive even we don't know what movies are on it or where they rank.
What do you mean you don't know?
Each episode will reveal one of the movies.
Did I rush it? Felt like I rushed. That was good. I liked it.
Talk about why it belongs and finally find out where it ranks.
Are you not entertained?
Are any of the movies we've shown here even on the list? I have no idea, and it drives me crazy. Join us as we find out on the Cinefix Top 100, Mondays, starting July 3rd.
Why so serious?
6 years ago, while talking about Sonic on Game Scoop, Brian, you had this to say.
At the point where we need to admit that this was never really a great franchise.
Wow. It was never really a good franchise, huh, Brian? Well, I'm sorry. We're well over, believe it or not, 100 Sonic games, 2 movies, a long-running comic book series, and 6 shows. When you besmirch Sonic, you besmirch everyone associated with Sonic, okay, Brian? Brian, I want to present you with this.
I will hold that L. I was wrong. I have since come around on that character. I have watched the movies with my kid and enjoyed them immensely. Sonic Frontiers is fun. I liked Sonic Colors. I liked Sonic Generations. I liked Sonic Mania. Something we can all agree on is that Sonic has been good. It's Crash Bandicoot that's never been good.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
If you enjoyed that, check out full episodes of Beyond, IGN's PlayStation show, as we talk, argue, and goof on everything PlayStation. New episodes drop every Tuesday on IGN.com and IGN Games on YouTube.
Wayfinder hit early access last week, and due to overwhelming demand, it had a bit of a rough launch, but something tells me it'll find its way. I hope you liked what I did there.
That was good.
Here to tell us about what's in the works, please welcome AJ and...
You gotta try it. Come on, you have to try it. It's
really?
Gamescom. Do it.
Okay.
It's phonetic.
La Saracena?
There you go.
Really?
Yeah, that's it. It's phonetic.
Yes.
People get so scared about it, but it's just...
I'm so glad. Okay, yes. First name down. All right. Ed, you are from Airship Syndicate. Welcome.
Yeah,
Welcome.
well, thank you very much. We wanted to have more members of the team here, but unfortunately, as you mentioned, we weren't able to do that. So, we launched last week. Things kind of blew up, and we're in the process of solving it. So, people have been telling us the entire time here, it's like, oh, it's a good thing, but it's really not, obviously. Like, we want people in the game. We want them to play, but the demand has been incredible. The community has been incredible, and we're really, really excited to bring the game out into early access and then just build it from there.
Yeah, so actually I had a question about that because people, once they do get into the game, they seem to love the art style and everything. And you've had this incredible way of being able to communicate with the community, which I have felt that developers have been kind of missing for a while now. So do you have another update on the sort of server situation? I did see your tweet from about 4 days ago.
Yeah, so we've actually been posting almost hourly on our Discord, which actually has, our Discord went from 25,000 people to 80,000 in 48 hours, which was just like, again, like, we are super humbled by the support and the people that are coming in there. But yeah, about every half hour to an hour, we've been trying to give software updates and server updates. We've been working behind the scenes nonstop since the game launched. Last night we put out a really big update, letting people know that not only did we increase capacity, the queue times are down, disconnects are down. We're not done by any means. Like, everyone needs to be in, but roughly right now our queue time is about 20 minutes, down from where it was like a couple hours. Again, was not what we wanted, not what we could plan for, unfortunately, but we're in a really great spot right now. So yeah, we really believe in the game, and it's great to see that the community also believes in the game.
Yeah.
And it's just, as I mentioned in the letter that I actually wrote at 3 o'clock in the morning, that the early access is just a conversation with players. And so just by being transparent with them and where we were and how we did wrong, all we can do is show them via our action and what we're going to do to make it better. But like you mentioned, once people are in the game, they love it. It's just, we got to get more people in.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought up that point about the letter that you wrote. I didn't realize it was at 3 a.m.
Yes, it was at 3 a.m.
Yeah, but you did mention that in that statement that early access is not a crutch and that it's actually a conversation between the studio and the community. Yep. So how has it been talking to the community? Like, how's the feedback been? How has that conversation been? Because obviously conversation is a two-way street, right?
Yeah, totally. And so we've run a couple different beta tests for the game, and in those betas we've had tons of great feedback about people wanting to see things like air dash, character balance changes, parries for weapons that didn't have them before. And so we utilize a website called Feature Upvote, which people can submit their ideas and thoughts. Other people upvote or downvote them, and then after every beta we assessed where we were. So it's been amazing to see the game grow since we started that, and I think it might take a little bit of time for new people that come into the game to understand that's kind of how we're approaching early access, but we've said all along that we could launch the game with 1,000 zones and 25 different wayfinders and 95 weapons, but if the game is not fun, if it's not rewarding, if the loops aren't there, there's no point. So we really want to focus on building the foundation for Wayfinder now in early access with the community, telling us what they want, what we're doing right, what we're not doing right, and then we can go larger once the game is eventually free to play in 2024.
Ooh, 2024. Okay.
Early 2024, yeah.
Amazing.
That's our
okay.
current timeline.
Yeah, so can you give me a little bit more on what exactly the gameplay loop is like? You did mention that you wanted that loop to be there, and obviously you're taking feedback. So what is the current gameplay loop like?
Yeah, so at the very start, Wayfinder is a character-based online action role-playing game. It's pretty much our love letter to MMOs. I mean, we grew up playing games like WoW and EverQuest and Final Fantasy, Destiny, Monster Hunter. So there's a lot of different DNA in this game, but at its heart, it's about social. So playing with friends, you have a house that you can decorate. There's large social spaces, going on awesome adventures with friends, dungeon diving in randomized dungeons to collect components to craft more wayfinders, craft more weapons, and then large open world areas that you can meet new friends, you can do large scale events, kill world bosses and do quests. So it really is our love letter to MMOs, and one day we hope it to grow into that even big MMO, but it's the game that we've wanted to make for a long time and really plays to the strengths of Airship Syndicate with the beautiful art and the characters that people love, and we're really, really excited about the future.
Yeah, so speaking of this being free to play, you mentioned in the statement you did say that the pricing in the store was getting adjusted and everything as well. So I think the items in the store were reduced to 1,000 silver.
Yes, you did your homework. I like that. It's awesome.
Thank
yeah,
you.
so something slipped through the cracks completely, and we owned it. Essentially, one of the currency packs was like 50 cents off, essentially, from buying a weapon, and it doesn't feel good as a player to see that, right? Like, we're players ourselves. We immediately owned it. We immediately said we're correcting it. We're retroactively giving people that bought that the difference, and then we're changing those packs going forward. And so in our game, you can craft weapons inside the game, or you can purchase a weapon once. You still need to level it up. No advantage from buying it, but if you wanted to have a shortcut, you can do that. But again, people told us right off the bat that didn't feel great, and we totally agreed. So yes, we are changing that.
That's amazing. Again, this is something that I feel like a lot of devs, especially people who want to try to do a live service game, you have to be able to adjust, right? Yeah. Because it is a live service game. So what does the free-to-play model look like for Wayfinder going forward once you do fully release?
Yeah, so if you were to buy into the game right now, it's $20 for early access, and that comes with the base game as well as our reward tower, which is our version of a battle pass that never expires, and it comes with the character. So we don't make you choose between, hey, do I buy the new battle pass that has content, or do I buy the new character? You get them both. So back to your question, when we do launch, none of that is changing. We will have a reward zone tower, a reward tower that you can pick from, as well as some characters, cosmetics that you can purchase to the cash shop or earn in game. So essentially, what you see right now in early access will be what we have in free to play. We're fully embracing the free and fair that Warframe set up 10 years ago, because Digital Extremes is our partner, and we're really diving into that. So all content, all new quests, all new bosses, all new zones, none of that is behind a paywall. All that will be coming free to players.
Yeah, actually, so you mentioned your publisher. So what has it been like working with the team that created Warframe? And, obviously Warframe was something that also did have a bit of a rough launch as well, but then they learned because it's, live service. So how has it been like being able to collaborate with them?
It's been great. I mean, a lot of people, when we talk to press upstairs, and they're like, "Oh, did you change a lot of this game so it made sense for Warframe?" We're like, "No, like we made the game that we wanted to make, and there was a lot of DNA that was shared with Warframe." So it was really a great match once we sat down in a room and they said, "Hey, we want to publish this game."
Yeah.
But we are constantly in communication with them, both from a technical side as well as like monetization side, to give us advice, gameplay. They've done it for 10 years, like I mentioned, so they definitely are the masters of it. It's new for us. We're used to putting out a game like Ruined King or Darksiders or Battle Chasers and then being done with it, or like, all right, on to the next thing. But this is the start. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and they've been really great to help us put that in perspective and be like, no, we'll buckle down, we'll solve what we have to solve now, and we'll move forward and make something awesome.
Yeah, I think that you're definitely on the right path, because not a lot of companies decide to do cross-progression, cross-play, and cross-saves specifically.
Yes.
It's a lot hard to do. It's really hard to do all of those, and most of the times you see games doing one of those. So what was the decision process behind making it all three?
So back to, like I said, the pillars of the game really are to us, an MMO is social. It's always persistent and changing, even though when you log offline, your friends are still there, world events are still going on, and then it's always updating, right? Yeah. So that very first one, being social, is like your friends play everywhere. So not everybody is on PlayStation, not everybody is on PC. So from the start, the inception of this game was really to, games nowadays are about that conversation. You don't just go on to play, you go on to talk to family members or friends that are across the country, and you happen to be playing at the same time. So it was really important to us that out the gate, cross-play and cross-save was the #1 priority for us, and we are happy that we have it right now.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for speaking to me about all this.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, answering all of our burning questions.
Yeah, we're here, and like I said, we've been transparent with the community. We're not going anywhere. We're super excited about the game. The feedback has been awesome for people that once they get into play. So we're happy to bring the game out into free-to-play in 2024.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see it. Thank you so much. Well, Wayfinder is out now on early access for PS5 and PC. We've got tons more Gamescom Studio coming up, so don't go anywhere.
Lies of P is the upcoming Souls-like third-person action game, and I cannot wait to find out more about it. Luckily, I get to do just that right now. Here to tell me all about Lies of P is the game's director, Ji-won Choi, and translator, Ji-yoon Shin. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming. Yeah. So we had you on the show last year at Gamescom. You won a bunch of awards. but you brought some new stuff to Gamescom this year. Tell me what Liza P at Gamescom 2023 is all about.
작년에도 게임을 가지고 나오셨는데 그때랑 또 다른 게 뭐가 있는지 또 어떤지 한번 짧게 설명해 주시면 될 것 같아요.
예, 이번에 준비한 PA 거짓은 저희가 거의 최종판입니다. 예, 파이널 버전을 즐기실 수가 있고, 하지만 저희가 이제 모든 분께서 즐기실 수 있기보다는 저희가 일부 이제 매체분들에게만 이제 저희가 플레이를 해보실 수 있다는 점을 좀 말씀드리고 싶습니다.
Yeah, this year we brought some new version, which is final version, but unfortunately it's only open for press that you can experience in Gamescom 2023.
All right. Are there some new enemies in this build? Now this is like the final build of the game, right?
지금 가져온 버전이 파이널인데 저번에 봤던 거랑 다르게 또 새로운 적들이 있는지.
네. 이번에 준비한 거는 모든 게 다 새로운 버전이기 때문에 깜짝 놀라실 수도 있습니다. 이거 피해 거짓 맞아? 완전 다른데? 이렇게 경험하실 수 있을 거예요.
So we brought so many new contents in this, so you will see completely different enemies, completely different situations here in this version.
Tell me about one of your personal favorite enemies that we're seeing in the Gamescom 2023 version, and what kind of.
2013년 버전에서 볼 수 있는 새로운 적들 중에 제일 좋아하는 적이 뭐가 있는지.
정말 매력적인 보스가 등장을 해요. 그래서 정확한 이름을 언급하기는 좀 어렵지만은 이번에 플레이해 보시면 정말 매력적인 보스가 등장한 것을 알게 되실 겁니다.
You will get to see a very attractive enemy, which is a very strong one. We cannot really mention his name, but you will see soon.
Well, this giant robot clown we're looking at right now, it seems like he puts up a good fight. Tell me a little bit about designing these enemies so that the encounters are challenging and difficult, because I know that's something that is important to the philosophy of this game.
지금 이거 보고 있는 이 이거에 대해서 말해야 되는 것만은 아니긴 한데, 그러니까 적들을 이제 디자인할 때 어떤 걸 제일 보시면서 넣었는지, 그리고 어떤 게임 스타일을 기대할 수 있는지.
네. 그러니까 저희가 새로운 신선한 어떤 경험을 드리기 위해서 많이 노력을 했어요. 그래서 탑 게임에서 경험하지 못했던 몬스터들이 등장하도록 저희들이 노력을 했고, 그 어느 때보다 또 몬스터를 가지고 있는 이야기와 서사에 대해서 많이 집중을 했습니다.
So yeah, we wanted to give the players new experience with new enemies that you haven't seen in other games, and we wanted to give each stories to the enemies, not just the boring normal enemies that you will see everywhere. Yeah.
Awesome. I really like this big sword. Tell me about the big sword. It looks great.
보이는 이 큰 칼에 대해서 좀 더 설명해 줄 수 있냐고. 되게 좋은데.
이 무기는 사실 칠지도라고 해서 한국 고유 전통의 무기를 저희들의 방식으로 개량한 무기입니다. 그래서 특수 스킬을 사용할 때 특히 칠지도로 해서 그 가지가 7가지로 뻗어나가는 연출을 확인하실 수가 있는데, 그러한 부분들에서 저희들이 상당한 고심을 한 무기이기도 합니다.
So this sword right here is called 칠지도, which is traditional sword in Korea. Yeah. And when you use it with a special skill, you can see 7 different branches will reach out from the sword.
Awesome. The grindstone system is something that you've implemented in this game. What's sort of like your advice to players who want to maximize it and get the most out of it?
게임을 할 때 초보자들한테 이 싸움 장면에서 좀 이제 조언을 해주고 싶은 게 있다면 뭐가 있을까요?
네. 일단 무작정 덤벼들지 않았으면 좋겠어요. 그래서 보통 액션 게임이라고 하면 호쾌하고 빠른 진행을 생각하실 수가 있는데, 솔로라이크 게임은 정보가 경험이 되게 중요해요. 그래서 무턱대고 덤비기보다는 충분히 사전 지식과 내가 어떻게 할 것인지 전략을 구상하면서 전투를 하면 크게 도움이 될 것입니다.
So he want to say don't jump in right into the enemy. So he want to say you need enough information and experiences and good plan and strategy to fight against these enemies.
Now, you know, this is obviously infused with a lot of horror, but most horror games look very dark and shadowy and bleak, desaturated. You're playing with a lot of color and lighting in this game. Tell me about that design decision.
그러니까 게임 디자인할 때 상당히 되게 다크한 모습 많이 볼 수 있는데, 이걸 디자인할 때 어떤 이제 과정이 있었는지, 또 어떻게 디자인을 한 건지.
네, 일단 피노키오의 모험 원작 이야기를 말씀드려야 될 것 같은데, 대개 피노키오의 모험이라고 하면 밝고 명랑한 어떤 동화를 떠올리시게 될 거예요. 근데 사실 원작을 읽어보게 되면은 생각보다 무겁고 또 좀 어른들만이 이해할 수 있는 그런 주제도 많이 담겨 있거든요. 그래서 이러한 원작의 느낌들을 저희들이 잘 전달하기 위해서 더욱더 의도적으로 다크하고 또 때로는 기괴하기도 한 그런 모습들을 담아내려고 노력을 했습니다.
Since everybody already know it's based on Pinocchio's story, which is fairy tale, but if you think of it, maybe there are some who can think it's boring or childish, but like you mentioned before, the original story is already dark enough, but we wanted to add more of color of our own story. So we gave more spices to it and twists to it. So that's how we came up with the dark story, dark mood of it. Yeah. 베르포크 얘기도.
I love it.
One more. 그리고 저희 이제 피노키오의 모험이 사실 이탈리아 원작으로 한 소설이긴 해요. 하지만 저희들이 좀 더 많은 분들이 관심을 가져주기 위해서 잘 알려진 것을 전혀 다른 방식으로 표현을 했거든요. 그중 하나가 베르포크 시대입니다. 피노키오는 피해 거짓은 베르포크 시대를 표현을 하고 있는데 흔히들 베르포크 시대라고 하면은 낭만적이고 아름다운 그런 분위기를 떠올릴 수가 있을 건데 저희들은 이것 또한 완전 반대인 방향으로 어둡고 기괴한 방식으로 또 표현을 하기도 했습니다.
So Pinocchio is originally Italian fairy tale, but we used the original story, which is familiar to everybody. But like we said, we wanted to add our own color, so we adapted a Belle Epoque era of France. So if you think of Belle Epoque era, it is a romantic era of France, but we also twisted that in our way, so we gave more dark and grotesque mood to it.
So now is this the King of Puppets boss fight?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about this encounter, because like I love everything I'm looking at here.
이게 인형의 왕인지 그리고 그게 맞다면 자기가 이 캐릭터에 대한 모든 게 너무 좋은데 좀 더 설명을 해줄 수 있을지.
예, 보시다시피 인형의 왕입니다. 인형의 왕이고 저희들이 정말 많은 노력을 들여서 제작한 보스예요. 그리고 이 피해 거짓에서 전개되는 이야기의 또 핵심을 가진 그런 몬스터라기보다 캐릭터라고 말씀드리고 싶어요. 그래서 정말 중요한 이야기를 다루고 있는 그러한 캐릭터라고 좀 말씀드릴 수가 있습니다.
So yes, this is the King of Puppet, and we want to call him character, not a monster, because he will be the center of the story. So if you play more and discover more about him, you'll find out more what he is and who he is.
A thing that I really, really love about this game is how quickly the character moves, how agile they are. That's, kind of in stark contrast to a lot of the kind of clunkier Souls-likes out there. How important was that, making sure that the character was fast and energetic?
게임을 보면 보통 되게 빠르고 빨리 전개가 되고 캐릭터도 되게 민첩하게 움직이는 걸 볼 수 있는데 다른 소울라이크 게임에서는 보통 이게 좀 둔감하게 움직이다던가 좀 무기감이 좀 큰 게 보이는데 그런 게 얼마나 중요하게 생각하고 개발을 했는지 민첩하고 빠른 게.
네. 일단 멋진 피노키오가 등장하는 게임이에요. 그래서 이런 멋진 부분을 강조하려면 좀 더 스타일리시한 전투 방식을 표현해야겠다고 생각이 들어서 좀 더 스피디한 전개를 말씀드렸고 그리고 또 저희가 인형인 캐릭터인 피노키오이기 때문에 인형적인 이런 어떤 역동적인 부분을 좀 표현함으로 해서 인형인 좀 더 어떤 사람이라기보다는 이게 좀 더 어떤 인간적인 부분보다 또 초월된 힘을 표현하고 싶어서 더욱더 좀 다이나믹한 전투 형태로 저희들이 고안하게 되었습니다.
So we have a Pinocchio, but which is cool and stylish. So we needed a like speedy and fast movement for it, and also we wanted to give active motion from puppet, which can differentiate it from human. That's how we came with all the motion and dynamic movement, which can show that it's over human.
Awesome. Last question. This is the final Gamescom version. This is the version of the game that will be in stores in a few weeks, right? And an Xbox. Can I keep it? Yeah, I was just wondering if I could keep the game.
그 9월에 곧 이제 발표가 되는데 자기 게임을 이제 해볼 수 있냐고.
물론이죠. 네.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, for everybody else, Liza P is out on September 19th. There's a demo out for it right now. It's awesome. Thanks for watching, and stick around for more Gamescom Studio, powered by IGN.
Well, that just about wraps us up for Gamescom Studio Day 2. If you missed any of the dozens of new trailers, gameplay reveals, and interviews we've done here at Gamescom so far this week, what are you doing with your lives? But it's okay. No worries, because you can catch them all on IGN.com and IGN's YouTube channel.
And good news, there's big exciting stuff you didn't miss this week, and that's because it hasn't happened yet. Tomorrow we've got the annual Gamescom Awards show, a massive celebration of the biggest games of the show, which gets pretty wild out there on the stage. A lot of jumping around. A giant robot might show up.
Oh my goodness. And on Saturday, we've got another day of Gamescom Studio featuring tons of games and deep dives with the people making them. And since that's not enough, on Sunday we've got the Gamescom Cosplay Contest powered by Mini, showcasing the most impressive costumes here at the show and awarding prizes to the best of the best.
But if you need something awesome to do right now, head to IGN.com/rewards, where you can win tons of awesome prizes like a limited edition Xbox from Porsche, a bunch of custom branded Steam Decks, and even a TMNT Mutant Mayhem pizza scented Xbox controller. It's an extremely rare, very strange smelling collectible for fans of pizza, turtles, and/or odors. I'm sorry, I'm stumbling because I smelled it and I just brought back memories of just how awful it smells to me.
They sent me one. I gave it away. It was very, very, very smelly.
Yeah.
But IGN Rewards isn't the only place you can win stuff. Whether you're watching here or in person or watching from home, take part in Gamescom Epics, the text adventure game of the show. It's a ton of fun, and it's another chance to win cool prizes. Head to now.gamescom.global to find out more.
But for now, it's time to say goodbye for the day. Don't forget to come back tomorrow for the Gamescom Awards. From all of us here at Gamescom Studio, in front of and behind the camera, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
The Cinefix Top 100. A list so secretive even we don't know what movies are on it or where they rank.
What do you mean you don't know?
Each episode will reveal one of the movies.
Did I rush it? Felt like I rushed. That was good. I liked it.
Talk about why it belongs and finally find out where it ranks.
Are you not entertained?
Are any of the movies we've shown here even on the list? I have no idea, and it drives me crazy. Join us as we find out on the Cinefix Top 100, Mondays, starting July 3rd.
Why so serious?
Hey, you. Yes, you. Do you have FOMC? Fear of missing Gamescom? Relax. Gamescom is everywhere you want. Gamescom now. Register now.
Tune into IGN 1 on your smart TVs for the latest news on your favorite releases, gameplay exclusives, and all the entertainment you can handle.
Cinefix on IGN 1, your friendly Friday night home for film fanaticism.
You're watching The Weekly Fix, ready to fill you in on anything you may have missed in the world of gaming and entertainment.
Welcome to Should I Play This? This is what to watch here on IGN 1.
Find it all in one place for free on IGN 1.
They turned into a network. Who knew?
Thank you.